Where it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Well, hey, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back to Criminality. If this is your first time here, welcome to Criminality. It has been forever. Thank you guys for being here. I am so sorry that I have been MIA. I know a lot of you guys were worried. I apologize for worrying anybody. Life was just, very hectic in the month of December. Everything seems to be calming down. Knock on wood. So thank you guys for being here. I have missed you. I have missed like even just everything that's going on. So I am actually here to catch up. I'm going to catch up with you guys. Some of this stuff I've seen, some of it I haven't even watched yet when it comes to the Delphi stuff. That's how behind I am. So I'm going to say hi to you guys in chat, and then we're going to get into it because we got obviously we got a month worth of Delphi to cover. So it's been crazy. It's been crazy, but I have missed you guys. Thank you guys for being here. What's up, Fiend? Hi, Judge Jessica. Hi, All Eyes. What's up, Shibby? Hey, Lindsay. Hi, Legal Lacey. Hi, Indiana Girl. Hi, Bart. What's up, Dina? Hi, Law Junkie. Hi, True Grit. What's up, Terry? Marissa. Ramblin's in the house. Hi, Hillary. Tammy. Hi, Andrew. Missed you. Missed you too. What's up? Nope. Did anyone here catch Holman's interview on HTC? Yes, we'll discuss that in just a hot minute. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. What's up, Chancey? Hey, Laura. What's up, Jenny? Hey, Sorcerer. We gobshite. Catastrophe. C-Dub. What's up, C-Dub? Hi, Candy. What's up, CW? Missed you, but I have to bedtime in the UK. Okay, I feel you. I feel like it's bedtime all the time. That's where I'm kind of at. What's up, Gina? Hey, Chelsea. Let's see who's down here. What's up, Andrew? And coming in, spoiling me. I love it. Hey, Aloha. Hi, Adrian. Yo, Adrian. So glad to see this since I missed Sleuthy's live from last night before it was gone. Yeah. Why do I always get a high voice Shibby? Shibby. Is that bad? No, I don't know. Because you're like sweet dude Shibby. I don't know. Maybe I'm just filibustering. You never know. You never know what's really going on. Jen. Okay, so let me catch you guys up on kind of where I'm at. So the last 2 days, Sleuthy and I did a reaction video. We did a two-parter on Sleuthy's channel. So maybe one of the mods will drop the link to Sleuthy's channel. I think the first part is still there. The second part was actually taken down last night by Hidden True Crime. So it is currently under copyright review, and Sleuthy will just have to counteract it and just say, hey, it's fair use. We were doing commentary on this interview, and YouTube is going to give it back to her. From my understanding, I think Joe Schmo also got copyright stricken by HTC. So yes, I have now seen it. I was a live reaction. I had not watched it prior, and I just happened to see that Sleuthy was going live a couple days ago, and she dropped me a link, and so I was up on panel and I watched the interview. We were raw. That was the first time I'd ever seen it, and so there's a lot of commentary between Sleuthy and I. Obviously, both of us like to talk, and we have a lot to say. And the interview. Oh, Lana too. See, I didn't know that. Did he actually play it though, Sorcerer Tree? You saw part 1, but not 2. I think part 1 is still up, but part 2 is what got copyright striked. I don't know how you'd say that past tense. Stricken? I don't know. But as we are all too familiar with over here at Criminality, the very pro, rager channels that like to copyright strike. Oh, they're both gone now? No. Really? The first one's gone too? Shit. Let me go see. We've gone over this when I was copyright stricken by Murder Sheet, and it is fair use. You are allowed to use other people's videos with commentary, to educate, to, any of those types of things. All those things YouTube will allow you to use. So essentially, Sleuthy and these others that were stricken will just have to counter strike it and say, hey, we were doing it with commentary. This is, these are the timestamps, or this is whatever, depending on how Hidden True Crime actually put it in, like, did they put the whole thing or whatever. And then Hidden True Crime will have to actually go to copyright court and try to keep it offline. Otherwise, the person who used it automatically gets it back. Let me see. I thought the first one was still there. Maybe the first one's gone too now. Shit. That's actually kind of funny. So the other thing is that somebody who uses the copyright strike system on YouTube to falsely copyright multiple people needs to be very careful, because they can actually get in trouble by YouTube themselves when it comes to all of these false copyright claims, and they can end up losing their channel. So and people get kind of like caught up in the, that's mine, it's my interview, and if people want to watch it, they need to watch it on my channel kind of thing. That's just not how the law works. But here's the thing, is we typically are talking about people who don't actually understand the law. So they think they can just, YouTube will take care of it. Well, no, you're going to actually have to go to court, and you're going to have to fight to show that you own the copyrighted material, and that they weren't using it under our fair use laws that we're actually protected by. So, it's just such a pain in the ass. I mean, that's really what it is. So I guess if you're trying to do it, just to cause the other person a hassle, I mean, that works. I guess it works, because it is a hassle. When I got mine taken down by Murder Sheet, I'd already downloaded the video itself anyway, so I just went and clipped it and put in like subtitles, which what are they going to do then? So I actually have that Murder Sheet video up twice, because I redid it and edited it and did it as a premiere so we could go through it and go over all of the things, because it cuts off right in the middle of the stream. When they copyright, God, how do you say that past tense? That's just like so stupid. When it was copyright striked. I think that's probably it. That sounds right. But be ashamed. So I mean, you have to be very careful if you're going to go around just copyright striking people. Copyright struck. So stupid. I can't even say the right thing. Anyway, the whole point is it just becomes a hassle. So like now my video, it's up twice, because when I won the appeal, it comes back, but it is a pain in the ass. So, I mean, I guess you win that way if that's what you're trying to do, just to cause people to have to deal with it. But either way, so Hidden True Crime had done an interview with Jerry Holman. Apparently Murder Sheet has done one as well. I have not listened to that. Like I said, I'm going to go over what I have seen and what I haven't seen, and then what we're going to watch together. I have not listened to the one with Murder Sheet. Like I said, I watched the one with Hidden True Crime on Sleuthy's channel in a two-parter that apparently both are down now, but, she can get them back, so it's not going to be a big deal, but it's just going to take, like I said, pain in the ass. So she did this interview. It was like pre-recorded, and then she posted it as a premiere. If you guys aren't familiar with that. So there's like, here I am, I'm live, I'm interacting with you guys live. You're here, I'm here, we're talking to each other. I can go in and I can record something and I can put it on YouTube and set it as a premiere, which means it shows up like live, but I'm not up here live with you. I'm in the chat with you. So I can talk to you, and it's like a video that I just put up, and it's called a premiere. And then other than that, you can just take a video and just post it to YouTube, and it just goes out as a video. So that's kind of how YouTube works. So she had pre-recorded this interview with Jerry Holman and posted it as a premiere. Ultimately, the end of the video is that you guys are still figuring it out. Stricken, copyright stricken. I think that sounds right too. Copyright. That's so funny. What was I saying? I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, but essentially, okay, so this interview with Jerry Holman, in my opinion, it's a huge nothing burger. I have no ill will towards Lauren, besides the fact that she's copyright striking when, it's fair use. I think that my issue in this situation is that she doesn't understand or know enough information about the Delphi case to be interviewing somebody like Jerry Holman. I've watched Hidden True Crime through all the Lori and Chad Daybell stuff. I thought she did a phenomenal job. I really did. I have no personal issue with Lauren. So I just want to put that out there. She did not ask Jerry Holman the questions that the majority of people, like, if you're trying to squash the rumors or, down the hype of what happened with Delphi, there's a lot of information that could have been gathered in that interview, and it just wasn't. I mean, obviously she's like, I got Jerry Holman. That's a huge interview. I think the interview has like 65,000 views. So, as a YouTuber who I do utilize my income from YouTube for my family. I get it. And I think, she's obviously way more invested in the YouTube world than I am. So there's a financial benefit to something like that. I just struggle with the fact that now, we have an interview that's out there where none of the questions are asked that are important to try to push some of this, what do you want to call it? Rumors, you want to call it questions, you want to call it, whatever, everything, none of it worked. So it was like, there was a lot of conversation about really petty, weird things like Post-it notes. And I don't know. I don't even know if she could have done a better interview because it's Jerry Holman. So I'm kind of struggling with that too. He didn't, for somebody who's been an investigator and a law enforcement officer for a very long time and is respected in his community, you'd think that he would actually know what probable cause is. And he didn't. He changed his story multiple times just in that live on what his theory of the case was. His commentary was odd. I'll just leave it at that. I thought it was a very bad interview. It was a very bad interview. It was a very bad interview because she didn't have the questions to ask. She didn't go through the investigation, which was kind of like the whole thing. Like, the live is titled like gag orders lifted. Like, let's find out all the things. And they were talking about weird stuff happening about Richard Allen when he was, in the courtroom. That doesn't have anything to do with the gag order. Like, let's get to the meat and potatoes of what this investigation actually was for, his 7 years and 10 months, as he likes to put it. What did you do? And instead it's like, well, we looked at that, and bottom line is there was nothing. And it's like, okay, can you elaborate on that? There's just like, can you tell me what you did? Tell me what you found that made it nothing. So I just thought it was a very wasted opportunity. Odd was, they used the word odd in that interview. If Sleuthy had done a counter, it would have probably been at least 40, maybe 45 times the word odd was used. So when I say odd, it's just, for shits and giggles. The things he said, that the reason, she asked him, like, what made you think that Richard Allen was the guy? And he's like, well, because Kathy Shank found the tip. So we knew he was the guy. And it's like, what? That's not investigation. And then we, we went and we put all these pieces together. I'm like, okay, what pieces? Like, where's the follow-up questions? Like, let's get into it. She really stuck with things that she knew, which was because she didn't follow the case, which there's no harm in starting to follow the case at the trial. I don't have any issue with that. But at least know the questions to ask if we're talking about like, hey, we're going to get 7 years and 10 months worth of investigation. Like, let's get into that. It was just lackluster. It was lackluster in my opinion. I don't even know if it matters that those two videos are actually down, because at the end of the whole thing, we were like, he thinks that he's guilty. Holman says something like, I knew it was strange when Richard Allen showed up for the interview wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. And it's like, well, fuck, I'm wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt right now. I like things like that. Like, why would you think he's guilty because he's wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt? I just, or because he gave his wallet and his keys and cigarettes and stuff to his wife when he came into the interview room. So that's odd behavior. And he just kept saying like, it was odd behavior. Or when, he was trying to tell him that they weren't going to be like wrecking anything in the house, that they just needed access to everything with the search warrant and so on and so forth, that, they weren't going to wreck anything. And so he was going to have him like, just cooperate. And Richard Allen's like, it really doesn't matter. It's over now anyway. Like, it's all over. And he's like, that's a really odd statement. Like, it's an odd statement that he said that. And it's like, no, like, what the fuck does it matter if you break a lock on something? You've destroyed my entire reputation. Maybe locks are more important to Holman, but reputation is more important to Richard Allen. So he's like, I don't give a shit. Like, it's over. It doesn't matter. You just look at what you've done to my house. Look at what you've done to my neighborhood. Look at what you've done to my family. So, and, he was going there to pick up his car. So like, that was another question. Like, I've had that question. Maybe Lauren doesn't have that question. When they go to pick up the car, is the car even there? Like, Jerry, was the car even there for them to come and get? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, things like that. Like, did you really have any intention on giving him back the car? And if you did have intention on giving him back the car, did somebody else come and pick it up later? Because it obviously was done. You were done with it. You were going to give it away. You weren't using it as evidence anymore. So where's the car? Like, those kinds of things. Stuff to do with the actual investigation. It just, like I said, it was lackluster. I was very disappointed. It was not, there was nothing gag order lifted. We're going to learn all of this stuff. Some people may have found it more interesting. Perfect. By all means, you could find it absolutely interesting. I just found it very odd. There you go. So, I find it very odd that an investigator doesn't know what probable cause is. I find that odd. So, that's where I'm at with that. So let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Hold on, I got a cough. Lackluster is being nice. It was just, yeah, it was just, it is what it is. It was Oddgate. Yeah, hashtag Oddgate. Exceptionally odd. Okay, so hey Veronica, towards the end of trial, she became very pro-guilt and judgy and insulting people. I didn't expect that from her. Well, there were some hypocritical moments in that where she was like, people like from both of them, where they're like, we need to stop the hate. And then he's like, I fucking hate the defense attorneys. Like, essentially, like, he doesn't actually say that. So if you haven't seen the interview, that's not what he says, but he talks very, very poorly about the defense attorneys. So I was like, oh, we're stopping the hate, but here we go. Like, we're going to continue on with the people we hate because we think it's better. For her, so my struggle is that she started following it right before trial. I think that she had talked about it like maybe one other time, and that's just by memory. So I don't even know if that's actually accurate, but she had just started following it. So she went to this trial and she was going to do like, in-person coverage, which I appreciate from everybody who goes. Like, I absolutely do, no matter whether you think he's guilty or innocent or whatever. So she starts to like just listen to what's happening in the trial. So number one, I struggle with that because, as anybody knows, for any trial, not every piece of evidence gets into trial. And we all know from following the case for so long how much Judge Gohl stopped from coming into the courtroom. Like, she did not allow a lot of things to actually transpire in the courtroom that the jury could have actually had a very different opinion on. They may have had the same opinion. We won't know because it wasn't allowed in. The other thing is I think she started talking to people while she was at trial that are very pro-guilt. Some of those people are high profile, and that makes for a lot of bandwagoning. Sorry, it does. She doesn't have the information to be able to form an opinion on every piece of, all this evidence and whether he did or didn't do it. We can all say he was found guilty by a jury of 12. He obviously was. We're here because of that. We're going to be talking about sentencing because he was found guilty by a jury of 12. But to say like you have all this past info that you don't actually have or you don't understand, she just didn't. The thumbnail of her video says transparency matters. Well, there's no transparency. There's no transparency. There's no information that's gathered. I would love to know if anybody in this chat, there's 267 of you, how many of you have watched it? And if you watched it, did you learn anything new? I would say I probably learned one thing new, that they edited out that video. That'd probably be the one thing I would say I learned new. It's okay, Mary. Good to see you. She looks starstruck. Yeah, it's very, and that's, but that's kind of comes the price when you get to do a poll. Do a poll. Okay, hold on, I'll do a poll. So side note, why I'm doing this poll, well, it's gonna have to mute it real quick. My computer like crashed, like took a hard dive, and so my husband had to come and like do all the things that my husband does, because he knows technology, like, and I don't. So but everything was like basically shut down and logged out, and so it's like, I don't know, it's like weird now. I have to like try to fix everything and like start from scratch. Let's start a poll. Okay, HTC. Okay, watched it. My keyboard. We may not get a poll. Watched it, learned nothing. Watched it, learned something new. Add an option. Didn't watch it. All right, there you go. There's your poll. I haven't done one of those for a while. I don't know if I learned anything new, but he definitely confirmed a couple suspicions I had. Ooh. Can you tell us what they were? I learned you and Sleuthy are really funny. Thanks, Donna. Yeah, did you learn anything new from the investigation or anything that you were like, oh, shit, I didn't know that? Oh, he did? He said odd 12 times? I don't know, I exaggerated it then. Hey, Mino Dino. I think probably the biggest issue I have now is the love of Walla. It's frustrating. It is, because you're ready with the next question, like what you want to know, and you don't get it. Fourth option. Started watching, was like, nope, not watching it. Oh shoot, I just did the slashy throat thing. Sorry. For 15 minutes of fame online YouTube, would one name him as being the dead man on Discovery on bed arms open? When listened to his mother, his son found him and she followed up. I don't know what that means, Hunting Evil. Maybe I missed a comment. If they only edited out him refusing a polygraph so it didn't affect jury opinion, fair enough. Right. Well, the other thing that you have to remember is anything that Jerry Holman says that we don't have anything to substantiate, you have to, like I've always said about this case, comes down to what you trust. Do you believe Jerry Holman when he says something? Because there are people who do, and they're like, well, now, Jerry Holman said that Richard Allen was at Cass County, and he, there's a video of him that they wouldn't let him play in court where he's like threatening the guards and, doing the, slash your throat, whatever you call it, mannerism or whatever it was. So that doesn't get played in court. But do we believe that that's true? Do you believe Jerry Holman? It's not going to be anything to do with evidence because it wasn't played. So we're probably never going to see it. Edit out where he said Elvis spit could have been picked up and put on the girls. No, that's still in there. Well, that was anyway. What bothers me is her behavior. When people say things that are not believable, the shit she said about Walla was from another planet. Yeah, she really is. She was like very, she's very sympathetic towards Walla, which I am not. And I actually was. I was like, yeah, we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Now I'm like, no, Walla, I don't even want you watching. We learned that Jerome uses the read technique on his kids. Hey, Sleuthy. I couldn't have less sympathy for Walla. I have no sympathy for her. So that's the other thing. So she says that they, there's two different edit situations we're going to talk about. So there's the edit that they talk about from the interview that was played in court between Holman and Richard Allen. And in that interview, she asked him, which is a great question because I didn't even know it was edited. That's the one thing I said I definitely did learn. I didn't know that the video was edited. I don't think anybody that talked about it that day ever said it was edited, but she brought it up. And he says that that they asked him for a polygraph and he declined. And because polygraphs aren't admissible in court, the judge had them remove that piece from the interview because it would prejudice the jury that somebody's declining to take a polygraph. Well, once again, we have to believe that that's the only thing that was edited. And when you have somebody like Holman who's saying he was only cussing for 30 seconds, 30 seconds after Richard Allen cussed, and you have other people who are coming on and telling us that there was he was screaming at him for a long time, I don't know. You got trust issues. I don't necessarily believe it. Now, the other thing is that since I was telling you guys that Lauren had actually pre-recorded this interview with Holman, she also edited that interview. Now, she says that she only edited out, I think she said coughing because he has a cold, and that he had there was something wrong with his Wi-Fi, so he had gotten disconnected. And so she edited out the 5 minutes that it took him to reconnect. There was only a few things that she said she edited out. Now, we have to go on blind faith. Do we just believe that? Or is there anything else that was edited out? I have no idea. You just have to trust it. Wallace should lose all of her credentials. She should never be able to see any patient ever again. Yeah. Jerry only cusses when Rick cusses. You need a ham Sammy. Woman doing the Walla Holla. Hi, Kathy. Had to switch. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the other thing. She had to switch headphones. Something was wrong. Did. Yeah. Did. And obviously, people people make mistakes when they talk. I do it all the time, and I make fun of myself for it. So I think if anybody is because somebody was like, Teresa from Criminality, she's such a mean girl. She's doing the Mean Girls Club. And I was like, shit, I make fun of myself for making mistakes. So Lauren had said that she had edited it. And so I was joking around that she said I had edited it. And then I was we were Sleuthy and I were joking around about synonyms. But that's just us making fun of ourselves too. So that wasn't personal. So we literally spent 15 minutes yesterday talking about things we say wrong all the time. Yeah, and things we can't even write correctly. But but saying those kinds of things makes you a mean girl. But I'm like, I was not making fun of her like that there's an actual issue with the way that she talks. I really wasn't. I have an issue with the way the interview was done, but I don't have any issue with the way she talks, even if she makes a mistake. Fuck. Like, come join my channel. I fucking make memes out of this shit. So as I was saying earlier in the live, that I've obviously been gone for a long time. So I was trying to do a day. I did a day of catch up on, because everything I have planned for, I have a lot planned for like Flora. So I put a whole bunch together for Flora. So I did that. And then after sentencing, I was like, okay, now I need to catch up on all this sentencing stuff. So I watched, what did I watch? I watched Bob's interview with Erica, the investigator. I watched True Grit Crime had an interview with, shit, is her name Christine? Now I'm going to forget her name. She has a 2-part interview. I've watched the first part. I've not seen the second part. That's actually where I ended up stopping. I have not watched the press conference. So one of the things that we're going to do today is actually watch this press conference together. You guys have all seen it. I have not actually watched it yet. Let me see, what else did I watch? I feel like I watched some. Oh, I watched Court TV with Bob and Erica. I feel like there's something else that I watched, but I don't remember what it is now. So I have, so I still have the second part of True Grit Crimes with Christine. Let me drink 3 beers first. Yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of filibustering. Oh, Kathy, yeah, absolutely. That's not even, I'm not even helping. I just want to get, I want to put all the info out there we can. And so Kathy, Paradox, and Necessary Evil have done a great job, like sending me everything. And I did do a live with them on Don't Hate Creates channel. I don't know if you guys got to watch that. It was all on Flora. I learned so much information. So I want to do I want to put something together for that and go through like all the documents so that it's, we can all know all the things that, have been put out there. So I put together spreadsheets for that. And the other case that I've been working on is Crystal Rogers, and putting together a ton of stuff on Crystal Rogers. If you guys aren't familiar with that case, you don't need to worry, because I'm going to walk you through it from the beginning. So that's kind of where I'm at with, like, I have been working on stuff. It's just not been the amount of time that I really, really have, normally would spend and want to spend on doing it. But so we're going to catch up on Delphi. We're going to dive into Flora documents probably this week. And I'm putting together a documentary on Delphi. That's not going to be out for a while. Those things take me forever, and I'm trying to do it as in much detail as I can from all the sides. Gee, I have all Crystal Rogers docs in Discord. Perfect. That's amazing. So, and then I did get a heads up that there's something happening with Koberger, and I was like, I have to look at that, I guess. If you guys know, I think Koberger's guilty. I know that there's some shady shenanigans though, and that kind of stuff always rings a little bit more important to me than the guilt or the innocence. But I do think he's the guy. But there's something about that they've looked at him as like a suspect in a break-in from 2021, which doesn't even really make any sense because he wasn't even in Pullman. But then I'm hearing like he was actually added later. I don't know all the details, so I don't want to touch too much on it. But I love your documentaries. It's going to be, yeah. They're just, I try to get so detailed, and so now this one's going to be, yeah. I don't know. FYI, DB recommended the book Cadaver King. Cadaver. Dumb. See, dumb. Can't say words. I highly recommend it myself. There was a lot about junk science. Okay, Cadaver King. All right, hold on. Let me get my pen. Cadaver. What the fuck am I talking about? So learn to read. Now my pencil doesn't work. darn it. Okay. Yeah, the documentary is going to be called An Unseasonably Warm Day. Okay, I'll look there. What's up, Cleveland Rocks? Yeah, words are hard, guys. Words are hard. I'm going to edit that out. Okay, so like I said, you guys have all seen this press conference. It is like 35, 36-ish minutes long. I have not watched it. It's an odd, unseasonably warm day. So, Andrew, thank you so much for gifting memberships earlier, and I completely missed it. And Callie, I thought you were already a member, but welcome back. And Sio Mama, you too. Thank you guys for being members on the channel. It's very odd. It's very odd. Okay, so let's see. Let's get this party started here. And then I do have thank you to True Grit Crime for sending me the ones I didn't have. We have Becky Patty's victim impact statement. We have Mike Patty's victim impact statement, Diane Erskine's, and Carrie Timmons. And I'm very interested to read Carrie's. I've always had a very huge soft spot for Carrie. All right, you guys ready for this? I need a vape. Hot Pocket! Hi, R&M. Spit scoop in Delphi on a warm day. Yeah, because apparently that's, and the weird thing is that people think that that's accurate. Like that Elvis was really like, yeah, you know, if somebody had to have scooped up my spit and put it at the crime scene. What? Like, I don't give a shit if that's what he said. That's still fucking odd. I'm gonna need a cig to watch. I don't have any cigs. Okay, I got my vape ready though. All right, you guys ready? All right. Oh shit. Let's make sure you guys can hear it. I'm gonna play just a little bit. I don't even know if I put the sound on. I hope I did. Thank you, Kathy. I'll talk to you soon. Now that I'm hopefully back in the rhythm of life. Yes, you guys can hear. Okay, perfect. Okay. This guy's still around? Check Slicky's broken nose. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Piers with Indiana State Police. I'd like to thank you all for being here today and for your continued cooperation throughout the course of this trial. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to the Canal Center for allowing us to use their facility today. As we move forward, we remain committed to keeping Abigail Williams and Liberty German at the center of our focus. Their memory has guided us every step of the investigation, and the photo displayed behind us serves as a powerful reminder of why we are here and what this case has always been about. Due to the gag order, it has been some time since we have spoke publicly about this case. Now that the order has been lifted, we're grateful to be here today and speak to all of you. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you the speakers: Mike Patty from the families, Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, and Carroll County Prosecutor Nick McClelland. At the conclusion of their remarks, Prosecutor McClelland will take a limited number of questions, and he has requested that all questions be directed to him. On behalf of those standing behind me here today, and all those who have dedicated countless hours into this investigation, we thank you all for your continued support.
If I speed it up, will it make it like we can't understand it? Let me try. We'll go to 1.5. If it's too fast, I'll drop it.
I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker, Mike Patty.
Yeah, that's too fast. I mean, I could do that on my own, but let's try 1.25.
Thank you, Jeremy. I don't have a nice speech all prepared. It was kind of a last minute thing here, but I really wanted to take the time to send out my appreciation that justice has been served for the girls. I want to thank the jurors. I hope they get a chance to see this, that they took time out of their lives and remained open-minded and objective and was able to look at the information and deliver a verdict. For that, I will always be grateful. The community. This community has embraced our families from day one and continues to lift us up and support us. And again, for that, I'll always be grateful. I want to thank them. The investigative team.
Isn't that kind of what he said during his victim impact statement? We haven't got there yet, but Sleuthy read it the other day on her channel, and it's like everything he says, and for that I'll always remember, and for that I'll always remember, or something like that. So now he's like saying, I'll always be grateful. Okay. Like I don't have a lot of issues with what any of the patties or the families actually have to say, besides the weird appeal thing. But for me, I've watched, and I said this when we were on Sleuthy's. Too bad you guys can't actually go watch it, but there's it's not closure, but there's some resolution when it comes to somebody being found guilty for the murder of their family members. And I'm lucky enough that I've never had that happen in my family. And so I don't have any personal experience with it, but I have watched a lot of trials. I've watched a lot of victim impact statements. When I had gone back to school, I did an entire thing on, I wrote a lot of papers, but one thing that I had to do was we read through a bunch of trials and looking at victim impact statements and how those family members ended up reacting when the perpetrator was actually found to not be the right guy. And they said a lot of really nasty things that they had to, like, it was almost they had to like let go of the fact that they were so sure of how they felt. So I don't know. I don't really hold anything against what these guys have to say. Obviously, I mean, they're the ones who lost their family member. It's almost like they need it. They need somebody. And I think that for me, law enforcement really fed off of that. What's up, Excited Utterance?
And the prosecution, thank you for staying steadfast and continuing to work towards this. It's been almost 8 years coming. If I live to make it 80, it'll almost be 10% of my life has been spent working on this. And to the judge, I want to thank her as well for her steadfast, staying on course, staying on track, and helping us get through this. Thank you very much. Tony.
All right, Mr.
Good morning.
Liggett.
The end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017 completely changed the fabric of Carroll County. We lost 6 beautiful young girls, and all of that happened within a 6-month time span. My office is not a part of the investigation into the Flora fires. That's being headed up by the state police. We would do anything that they would ask for us to do, and I know they're working extremely hard on that case as well. Carroll County is a tight-knit community, about 20,000 people. It used to be a place where people didn't lock their doors. I believe that the verdict and the sentencing will help ease some of that sense of security for the people of Carroll County. The people who live here are very resilient. I think you can see that just in the families, the Germans, the Patties, the Williams. Carroll County is an amazing place to live, to work, to raise your family. I want to thank all of the people of Carroll County and the families for their patience during this investigation. I keep hearing the word closure. People are coming up to me saying, I bet that you're glad that there's finally closure. There will never be any closure in this case. The Germans and the Williams family lost their daughters, their granddaughters, their siblings. Justice, a form of justice was served, but it does not bring Abby or Libby back. These families will live every day without 2 of the most important people in their lives. They're missing milestones because of a low-life coward decided to take their innocent lives. They did not deserve this. Today is not closure. It is just turning the page and starting a new chapter.
Today is not the day.
My heart is and always has been broken for these families. I want them to know that we stand with them, and I want to apologize to them that it took 8 years for us to get to this point. This case was quite the undertaking for the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. There are so many people that put a lot of time in assisting us with bringing it to a conclusion. You see a lot of them right here, and there are many that aren't standing up here. There are so many agencies to thank for standing by our side. Just to give you an idea of the support that we had just for the trial, we had 36 outside agencies help us for just the security during the trial. On the afternoon of February 14th, at least that many came to help us investigate this case. Everyone from detectives down to dispatchers to help investigate or just answer phones. I remember a conversation after we found the girls with Jerry Holman about whether or not we were going to take the case or Indiana State Police were going to take the case. Well, it was not my decision. It was not my decision, but I knew we didn't have the resources needed to do this on our own. Holman made a commitment that if we took the case, ISP wouldn't leave us and they would stand by our side and provide any of those resources that we needed, and they did just that. Tobe Lesenby was the sheriff at the time, and he asked ISP to stand with us. I want to thank Doug Carter and the rest of the Indiana State.
That's interesting that this is now, okay, because obviously I watched the Holman interview and hadn't seen this when I watched it, but there was a lot of things that Holman said in his interview that it was on repeat. Like he was saying things that other people said. Even when he was talking about why he thought Richard Allen was guilty, he was saying things that Richard Allen had said in these confessions. So it's interesting because like this conversation, right, or this speech that he's talking about right now, Holman talks about that too. Like he doesn't have, like, is anything that he said his own? Because this was Liggett's. And I'd like to know who wrote this for him. He's having a hard time getting through it, which means I feel like he didn't write it himself. It's like he's reading somebody else's words. You know, like you can, when you write something yourself, you can kind of just go off of, almost your own memory.
State Police for being with us during this time. The reason justice was served today was due to one person, a person that only knows how to give. She has given herself literally for free to this investigation in different ways since about March of 2017. Kathy Shank, while filing, scanning, organizing, found a tip that led us to be here today. Throughout this investigation, especially when things happened during the month, for things that happened during the month of 2017, that was a time when Kathy.
What's going on with him? Why can't he talk? Why is he struggling so much here? This isn't the first press conference he's done. So Sleuthy had made a point that you could tell they were almost like setting up the public to understand that Kathy Shank was going to be getting the reward money. I'm gonna have to look into that because I haven't yet, but I don't know if any of you guys have yet, but I just don't, even if she's a volunteer, I still don't think that she would qualify for the reward money. I don't think she would, but it does sound like, she did it all for free. She did it all for free. I don't know. I don't know.
Kathy was not helping us. When she would come across something that she didn't know, she would always bring that to an investigator. And every time that she brought us something and said, "Did you know this?" We knew it, except for the tip that she brought us that got us here today. To borrow a term I believe was started by Becky Patty, a saying that meant enough to me that I had it on a sticker on my computer, in my car, and on my refrigerator at home. The goal was actually to be able to say the words, and they ring true. There is zero doubt that justice has been served, and today is the day. Thank you.
Oh, zero doubt. I would disagree. I don't necessarily believe that justice has been served. I'm kind of confused on why they would think that justice has been served when they are leaving the tip line open and essentially still looking for other people, even though they've now stated on the record during testimony that they absolutely believe that Richard Allen acted alone. And if he's convicted, what are they trying to get in this tip line? He's thanking her because she got him elected. That's why he's thanking Shank. All right, let's go, Riddler. Let's see what you got.
I had prepared remarks today, but I decided walking in here that I wasn't going to read them.
Well, thanks for telling us.
John Bryan reminded me
What? Okay.
that 2,866 days ago, this entire thing began. I didn't know what I would think, and I didn't realize today we were going to be walking into the same room where many of you were, I believe, in, again, from memory, April of 2019 or that time frame. And over the course of these last many years now, several of us, me included, have been mocked and ostracized for our emotion, for our inability to answer questions that you might ask, and the thought that we're something other than human beings.
Did somebody call them something other than human beings? That's weird. Okay, go ahead. I don't know. I'm biased here. I already have an issue with Carter. I already have an issue with Holman. So I know I'm biased. I'm going to put that out there first because I am just, I don't know. The lies are just so much.
I am, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
You're not going to, hold on.
I often say,
Let me back that up just a hot second. Not going to apologize for what? Being a human being?
answer questions that you might ask, and the thought that we're something other than human beings. I am, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
Not going to apologize for people thinking that he's not a human being. He should have probably stuck to what he wrote. Oh, he's looking
I
at
often say I wish people could see what goes on behind the scenes, and not
Yeah.
just with people dressed like me,
We want to see.
but citizens of this county and of the city. It's amazing, amazing acts of unbelievable courage and self-service and self-sacrifice. I wish you all could have been in the courtroom today and heard the victim impact statements.
Oh, do you? Interesting.
I'll always remember them, and I hope you'll get the transcripts and read what was said and try and understand the context of those words, even though you weren't in the courtroom. Over the course of these last many years, there have been many, many, many investigative strategies. Any notion of a cover-up, any notion of us deciding the outcome of this, any notion of any connection to anything else is not correct. It's not correct. I've never been a detective in my entire lifetime, but I get to represent some of the best on the planet Earth. And I listened to them intently. And when they made strategy decisions associated with what the next steps would be, my job was to support them, and I stand by those decisions, every single one of them.
He's never been a detective in his entire career.
The gag order. We lived by that. We lived by that gag order.
Oh, the lies. And then people go, well, why don't you believe it when Doug Carter says XYZ? Or why don't you believe it when Holman says XYZ? Because they lie. So how do you believe, even if what they end up saying or what they say ends up being true, I don't, how do you believe them? Because they lie. They didn't stick by any fucking gag order. Bullshit.
Order.
We
The
live by
defense did not.
Ugh.
And it cost a human life. Anybody that shares those photographs.
Oh my God, I can't do it. No wonder you guys are like, what? Like how that I hadn't watched. What? What the fuck? At a press conference to have to do with Richard Allen's sentencing, this is what this guy thinks he needs to be talking about. When his team did not abide by a gag order, they didn't live by a gag order. This fucking guy right here. Hi, Oz. This is, gets, oh, fuck. Okay, hold on.
Of those two little girls, anybody that shares those photographs of those two little girls should be held accountable, whether they're in the public sphere, whether they're emailed to you, whether you found them in a place you didn't want them to see. I hope that if you ever see them, you'll picture your own children as Abby and Libby. I'll never forgive that. I will never, ever forgive that. We lived by the gag order.
You did not.
Documents were released from the defense that drove a public narrative that many of you talked about.
Okay. Documents were released by the prosecution that drove a narrative for the public that many of you have followed from the time of Richard Allen's arrest. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Hi, Michael. I've missed you too. I cannot even believe that he thinks that the motions filed by the defense team violated the gag order. And if he thinks that, how does he not think that the motions filed by the prosecution violated that very same gag order? How does that even make sense to anybody?
And documents were released from the defense that drove a public narrative that many of you talked about. And damn it, I wish I could have responded, but I was not going to violate what Judge Gall said. So they were able to get these documents out there and create a public narrative that you and many others, many of you and many others believed around the globe.
I do want a cigarette. I don't have any.
Baldwin and Rosier are responsible for that,
Oh, fuck off.
not this team.
Bullshit. 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 What? What? This is, how is this what they want to be talking about right now?
The family effects, I think you'll see the words that were spoken by the folks that spoke today about their lives and how they've been forever changed, how they'll never be the same. And they said it in ways that were beautiful in some kind of a mysterious way. There's an attorney in Indianapolis by the name of Guy Relford. And I heard Guy on the radio after the verdict, when a lot of hate mail came, death threats came. And I heard Guy Relford say that day on the radio, and I called him 15 minutes after he said it. And after 40 years in this business, I never thought about the jury's perspective. But he said the only people that mattered in that courtroom was the jury. And he went on to talk about, he's a very bright attorney. He went on to talk about what they can see that we can't, that you couldn't. They could see the defense. They could see the state. They could see the witnesses, feel the emotion, and they could see Richard Allen. I've never thought about that perspective because we have a singular view most times. You, me, it's human nature. Judge Gall was the keeper of the peace in that courtroom, but the people that mattered were those 12 jurors. And we have a system of justice that allows them to decide the fate of a human being. That's what our founders had established. And that's what they did. I hope you all understand that what you say and how you report matters more than you can ever possibly comprehend. This is an opportunity for us to all learn about what social media is and isn't, what we should do and what we shouldn't, and understand that their words have consequences to other human beings. I appreciated Guy's perspective.
So same concept as Holman here. Let's stop the hate. Your words have consequences. Let's stop, treating us like we're not human beings. But let me stand up here and just dish out as much fucking hate towards Brad Rosie and Andrew Baldwin as I possibly can over something that they didn't do. So, Doug Carter, what would you have said? He says, I wanted to say something so bad. What would you have said? You have the opportunity. Fucking say it. You haven't said it yet. There's more. Oh God, Terry. Oh, can you maybe slow chat? I can. It doesn't seem like it's going. Is it going? Let me see the where's the wrenches? Wrenches, how's the chat doing? Yeah, the irony behind that. Crubbed. Do as I say, not like I do. Okay, if it starts going too fast for everybody, just let me know. I hate to slow it because people who aren't members are they have to wait and it's so long. Hi, Hybrid. Okay. Carter himself said the pics were in the wild in February 2023. Where did they come from? I want to make sure that obviously we'll get right back to this, but I want to talk about these photos for just a second because it comes up with Holman too, and it seems to be a point that people are missing. You know, Holman said something about them being out for years, and then he goes in to clarify that he's talking about like the clothing pictures that were taken by the volunteers. But I have to say, and if you go back in my lives from I don't even fucking know, forever ago now at this point, it feels like there are creators and people on Facebook, social media, like, you know, like admins and stuff that were talking about the crime scene photos were going to be coming out right after the leak of the clothing photos. There are people who are stating very soon the other photos will be out. Like, they know that these photos exist and they'll be out. And this is way prior to anything to do with, and I have all the receipts for it. So I have the people talking about it. This isn't about the clothing photos. I just want to make sure that's very clear. They're specifically saying that the crime scene photos of the girls are going to be out. And it's after the clothing photos were released. I have them. So at some point, this is why I was always really like trying to figure out this whole photo thing. And obviously we don't know facts because Mitch Westerman comes forward and like essentially says he did it without Baldwin's knowledge and whatever else. But I just want to make it very clear. There was a lot of talk about crime scene photos of the girls coming out long before they were actually out. So to say that nobody had ever seen them, I'm not in the belief of that. I don't believe that. Hey, Donna. It was before Alan's name was ever even known. Yes. And they were talking about these photos, and they weren't talking about clothing photos. The clothing photos were already out. So I know that they keep circling back to like, you know, these photos have been out and they were the photos of the clothes. But I'm here to tell you, no, people knew about these other photos long before this. And it just makes me go, wait a minute. So are there two sets of photos that were put out because of this whole, you know, we had the whole square circle thing, which I think I had that all figured out, but that's like we could go down a whole rabbit hole with that. But and I tried to ask people who were in the courtroom, the photos that, you know, that had seen the photos that were leaked, are those photos even the same photos that were shown in the courtroom? But because, you know, the couple people that I did get to, that saw the photos in the courtroom said that they were so much more clear while they were in court, you know, because the people who had put out the photos on social media had gone through and manipulated like the, you know, like the tint and the coloring and stuff. So, and cropped the photos. So they weren't necessarily the same, but so I don't know if anybody at this point can even say, are they the same photos that were actually shown in the courtroom? Because if you remember, we had Rosie saying there was photos that were part of this leak that he had never seen. So I don't know. The photos showed a lot of blood and were disgustingly graphic. I guess, right. So were you in the courtroom, True Crime Rewind? My biggest question was, are they the same photos? Because obviously we know that the photos that have been, and now people keep posting them all over the place. And that's one thing I agree with. Like, I don't think people need to be doing that. They're not, I don't know. I just don't think they do. I don't think they do. He said it about one photo. Okay. Thank you, Michael. But were they the same photos? I've not gotten clarification on that. Because if they're not the same photos, we're in a whole, there's a whole different ballpark happening. Like, if they're not the same photos, they're not the same photos. They spoke about the very first time the photos were found. There was no formal reports made about it, and they talk about the separate markings that were attached each time they were. Some of the searchers put out photos. Well, we know from a couple of the locals, one in chat right now, who, when this all happened, had seen photos that were being shown just around the community. Yeah, we have zero idea. How do we not know that yet, though? Like, that's kind of where I'm at. How do we not know that yet? We should know that probably by now, right? They were the same. This is, oh, hey, Greeno. They were a couple photos that were taken from that angle. They took it from every angle they could. Same photos, but the ones leaked edited with no blood. No, there's definitely blood. I mean, I see blood in the photos that were leaked. But because of the coloration, I don't think we see nearly as much. Okay, let's get back to this. They never showed the photos that were speaking about, they were speaking about in March. Okay.
And it changed my of the criminal proceeding
Let me back up just a second so I know where I was.
to other human beings. Social media is and isn't what we should do and what we shouldn't, and understand that their words have consequences to other human beings. I appreciated Guy's perspective, and it changed my of the criminal proceeding.
It was weird. It was like a cutout right there for some reason.
Richard Allen knew. We live in a country where people can hate. People can say things about other people. And that's okay. Hate me. It's okay. It's one of the only countries in the world where you can. So hate me if you want to. The investigative collaboration is something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly across.
Yeah, that's my question. Free Ricky Bay. Knew what? Knew what? Knew what? Knew that there was, that the photos were coming out? Knew what?
Chronicle it or articulate it or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. We are human beings, and there were mistakes made. But there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it. I'll crawl across shards of hot glass for Jerry Holman. Jerry Holman is not a liar.
Why are we saying that? Why is he saying this right now? Why is this important to be saying right now? He'll walk across hot shards for him? Is that what he said? Shards? Jerry Holman's not a liar. There was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong. What? Hold on. Come on.
The rest of my life. For the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly chronicle it or articulate it or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. We are human beings, and there were mistakes made. But there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it.
There was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it.
Crawl across shards of hot glass for Jerry Holman. Jerry Holman is not a liar.
It's interesting that he goes from saying that about that they've made mistakes, that they didn't make mistakes, that they knew were mistakes when they made them, or that they knew were wrong when they made them, and then he goes directly into talking about Jerry Holman.
Jerry Holman gave the last 8 years of his life to something much greater than himself. We fussed with each other throughout the course of this in conclusion. We argued with each other. I remember Tobe and I had an argument right here in this other room in April of 19.
Ooh.
As you should expect us to. There was no groupthink.
About what?
We debated each other, as you should expect us to. But then the defense spins it into incompetence. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous nonsense for Baldwin and Razi to have done that. And finally,
they are incompetent. They fussed, baby Bill. Yeah, they had a little fuss. They fussed. To say that they're incompetent is a problem when they did things incompetently. That's what I got, Kitty. And finally, okay, hold on, back it up just a second. Did you get mad at Tobe for ending the search and calling off the dogs? What? Now tell us, tell us what you guys got in a fight about. What was Tobe upset about in April of 2019? Now I want to hear from Tobe because it's interesting. We talked about this when I was on Sleuthies. Yeah, hold on, I'll come right back to that. When I was on Sleuthies, that see, now I read that comment and now I fucking lost what I was gonna say. Son of a bitch, I shouldn't have read the comment. I should have just highlighted it. What was I saying? Oh, Tobe. So Holman says that Carroll County was the lead, right? So that would have been Tobe. So Tobe was sheriff at the time. He would have been the lead. I know that he put Liggett like as his like lead investigator on it, but he would have been, but Tobe would have been in charge. He was the sheriff, so he would have been in charge. So that means ISP was not wanting to take over. They were just going to support. They were going to support Carroll County. But Tobe, I was like, if Tobe was like in charge of this whole thing, why isn't he didn't take the stand at all? Like nobody's talking to Tobe. Why isn't he being put on the stand and asked any questions like at all? Why is Holman being brought up, over and over and over again? And now we're talking about that Tobe was pissed at Carter in April of 2019. And I also didn't understand, if Tobe was in charge, how did Carter get rid of the FBI? If it's Lesenby's investigation and he's in charge and it's his county, he's the lead, how does Carter get rid of the FBI? Yeah, what's going on with Tobe? And why is Tobe pissed off? April 2019, for anybody who doesn't remember April 2019, that's when Carter comes out and does the whole, everything's the switcheroo. Okay, did you hear there was something between Slick Nick and Auger after the sentencing, but no one knows what it was about? I did hear that they had something that they were talking after, and some people thought it was contentious, but I have no idea what it's about. Has anybody figured that out yet? Yeah, where's Tobe? There were so many good questions to ask. Holman may have had reasonable answers, but we haven't heard them. That's what I said at the beginning of this live too, Michael, was that it was just such a wasted opportunity. There was so many things that we could have learned from the 7 years and 10 months of investigating that we now won't know. Unless he actually will do an interview with somebody who will ask him those questions. It's mentioned here. Okay. Yeah, I'd be really curious about Tobe. What are they fighting about in April of 2019? Hey, DB. I have another interview with Holman in January. Any question? I have a ton of questions I'd ask Holman. Hell yeah. I'd ask him about the investigation, not about what was going on in the courtroom. One doesn't have to be hostile to ask the questions. Exactly. But she said that she had given him questions beforehand, because she asked a question and she says like, I know this wasn't on the list or whatever. Okay, I will. Tobe admitted that they all thought it was more than one person. Right. Well, the defense could have put him on the stand. Johnny. You want to know what we know about Tobe? And one day, Miss Criminality, you will know. But today is not that day.
As you should expect us to. There was no groupthink. We debated each other, as you should expect us to. But then the defense spins it into incompetence. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous nonsense for Baldwin and Razi to have done that. And finally, most importantly, to the Delphi community and to the family of Abby and Liddy. Words cannot possibly explain what we all feel. But what Nick McClellan did and the rest of the team that was associated with this, every single time it was about something other than themselves. It was about this community and that family. And we owe them a debt of gratitude that can never possibly be repaid. How about we start to heal now? How about we hit that reset button and understand that justice in this country was served? And if you don't like justice in this country, go to another one. Let's heal. Tone down the rhetoric. Stop all the politics and all the nonsense and all the conspiracy theories, and understand that we all tried the best we could. That should be the message to us and to our kids, and to this most amazing place we call the United States of America. Well done. Thank you all.
Did he say that? Hold on, I'm going to back up.
Good
Did
morning.
he say that family?
And to this most amazing place we call the United States. McClellan did, and the rest of the team that was associated with this, every single time it was about something other than themselves. It was about this community and that family. And we owe them a debt of gratitude.
That family? He said that family? Wow. Wow. He should have stuck with his notes. Just the one family. And that doesn't include Carrie, because they don't count Carrie. Wow.
That can never possibly be repaid. How about we start to heal now? How about we hit that reset button and understand that justice in this country was served, and if you don't like justice in this country, go do another one. Let's heal. Tone down the rhetoric. Stop all the politics and all the nonsense and all the conspiracy theories, and understand that we all tried the best we could. That should be the message to us and to our kids, and to this most amazing place we call the United States of America.
Yeah, it could. Michael, you're right. It could have been a slip. The problem is over the 7 years and 10 months of this investigation, he has really only focused on what Mike and Becky Patty have wanted or had to say. So for me, I don't know if it's a slip or if it's an unconscious bias that he still continues to have, because this is really how it's been. Anna has never been an important figure to him. Carrie's definitely not been an important figure to any of them. So for me, it kind of just, it could be a slip. You're right, it could be. But from the history of what they have done to exclude Carrie 100% and Anna 90%, everything has always been about Mike and Becky Patty. And Kelsey.
Well done. Thank you all.
I can't believe he spent his entire time up there going over what about the defense team and how Holman is not a liar. I can't, that is just like, and then rounds it out by saying like, this is about, that family, it's about the girls. I don't understand why he spent so much time talking smack and then trying to say bad things about people talking smack about him and Holman. I could guarantee that Rosie probably would walk on hot shards of glass or whatever too. So does that make it okay? I don't know. Like, that's just weird. That was all weird to me. Like, today's finally your day, Doug Carter. Today is finally your day.
Good morning. Can we all just have a little bit of a sigh of relief that this thing is over finally? The convictions come in. We've got the verdict. We got the sentence, 130 years in the Department of Corrections.
Was his nose always broken? His nose has definitely been broken. I don't remember his nose being broken.
And while I don't think ever this verdict or this conviction will ever bring peace to the family, I hope that they can take this sigh of relief with me to say that this part of the trial is over, that we got the conviction, that we got the sentence that brings justice for Abby and Libby. A few of the things I am going to say are going to echo what Sheriff Liggett said, what Superintendent Carter said, and what Mike Patty said, but I'd be remiss if I didn't thank some people along the way. Law enforcement, Carroll County Sheriff's Department, Indiana State Police, Department of Natural Resources, all the agencies that assisted in this investigation and the prosecution of the defendant, I want to thank. They were attacked by members on the internet for their integrity. They were called corrupt. They were called evil. And they were called liars. And they weathered that.
Why is it so important to these people what is being said about them on social media? This is odd. This is odd.
Form with professionalism and did what they could to be a shield for the families. Spent countless hours chasing down leaks of crime scene photos, countless hours attempting to scrub the internet of those crime scene photos.
What? 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 No. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. This is my whole issue with these guys is they think they did things they did not do. I don't know where they come to these conclusions. They didn't do any of that. Spent countless hours tracking down the leak. No, you didn't. You scrubbed them from the internet? No, you didn't. You didn't even, the people that Holman talked to personally, he didn't even ensure that they deleted the fucking photos. He just said, okay, delete them, all right? Okay, cool, thanks. There was no follow-up. Hence how they're still out there and they're now being posted more public. They didn't do any of that.
And countless hours trying to protect the family as best as they could. And so to them, ISP, Carroll County Sheriff's Department, DNR, the other agencies that assisted, thank you. We would not be here today if it were not for your efforts and your countless hours that you sacrificed away from your family and your friends to give us the evidence that we needed to get the conviction.
Isn't that their job?
I want to thank my team, Stacy Diener.
Isn't that their job? Aren't they paid to do that?
James Luttrell. There is no way I could have tried this case without them.
What? Oh, Luttrell.
We spent countless hours working on this case, away from our families, away from our friends, and no one will understand the heart and the effort that they poured into this. So thank you. I want to thank Kathy Shank. She kept us well fed. She was the grandmother of our office, if you will. She made sure that whatever we needed, she took care of, and she never complained. And without her, we would not be here. Without her countless hours of going over filings, of scanning in documents, of looking at reports, and having the wherewithal to bring this to the attention of Sheriff Liggett, to say, hey, I haven't seen this before. Has anybody followed up with this person? Without her, we would not be here. Without her, we would not have an arrest, a conviction, and a sentence. She was the key part to this investigation, the needle in the haystack, if you will, that brought this investigation to a close to where we could make an arrest. Kathy Shank, I thank you. And finally, the family, the Williams, the Germans, the Patties, thank all you guys. The support you gave me throughout this, those times when I said you had to abide by the gag order, that you wanted to respond to the things that were being put out there, the allegations against you, against your family members, that you respected me to the point where you were willing to agree to abide by that gag order for the betterment of the case. The fact that you supported me throughout it, and I know there may be times you doubted, but you endured. And without your help, we wouldn't have got the conviction. And without your victim impact statements and the graceful words that you gave to the court about how this has influenced your lives, we wouldn't have got the sentence that we got. 130 years, maximum sentence on each count. And so I thank you. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Abby and Libby themselves. Libby for recording the defendant as he walked across the bridge, having the wherewithal to pull out her phone and record that individual, having the wherewithal to know that something wasn't right. Arguably the biggest piece of evidence that we had, that recording of their killer. And then to Abby for hiding the phone from the killer so they couldn't take it with him, hiding the phone so that law enforcement could find it and get that piece of evidence that Libby had collected. Without the efforts of those two little girls, we wouldn't be here today. So Abby and Libby, thank you.
All right. So much gaslighting happening right here. There's just so much gaslighting. So if you say anything anti this, now you're going to be a victim basher or anything along those lines. I said this on Sleuthies. I thought it was made very clear after the trial from everybody I listened to that the phone, that she was not purposely recording this person. And not to take away the fact that she recorded him, because she still did, but I thought it was made really clear that it wasn't intentional. Like he's a little tiny blob in the background, like not like the recording was already going. It just kind of, and it just filters into it. I'm confused on that. And then I know during closing statements, he made this comment about Abby, which is the first time we'd ever heard that. It was now come trial, they're saying Abby purposely hid purposely hid the phone in the shoe under her body. That's doesn't make sense. And see, now this is what happens, because now if you go anti this whole narrative that they put out there, you become a terrible person. That's like the epitome of just being gaslit to death right there. If Abby died where she was laying, the shoe was already underneath her. Like there's no like, let me put this phone in the shoe. I mean, shit, maybe, but there's no way to ever be able to say that. But maybe there's like this whole issue with the fact that people for years have called Libby a hero for recording her killer kind of thing, and then Abby was just getting nothing, and so now they figured out a way to make Abby also a hero. I mean, fuck, like, let's be realistic. Obviously, I don't think there's anybody in that, no matter what side of anything you're on, that ever thinks that these two girls should have been killed at all, and no matter which way. So I just feel like now if I say something against that, like now I'm a dark heart or whatever, like these people are claiming, like that's just crazy to me. I don't agree with that.
They were very happy with the jury's verdict, related with the judge's ruling, or not the judge's ruling, the judge's sentence. The sentence is appropriate. As Judge Gall stated in court, the aggravators outweigh the mitigators, and the heinous nature of this crime deserve a fully executed sentence. I'll end with this. I want to thank the media for keeping this case in the forefront, for keeping the tips coming in for us to investigate.
This case has not been in the forefront.
But I will leave you this word of caution. Please, as Superintendent Carter said, the crime scene photos are still out there, and more may be out there in the future. Please, if you receive those, delete those. Don't forward those on. Don't re-victimize the family and the other family members. You can write whatever story you want and report however you want. You do not need those crime scene photos to do so. All it does is re-victimize the families and hurt the reputation of Abby and Libby. So please, if you get those, do not forward those on. If you get any other crime scene photos or autopsy photos or anything, don't forward those on. As Superintendent Carter said, imagine if they were your kids, your grandkids. You can write a story without having those pieces as part of the narrative. So please, do not forward those on. I want to thank the community finally. Everybody in the community locally has supported my office, supported law enforcement. The show of support from them has been just unforgettable. I appreciate everything everyone's done. I appreciate the prayers. I appreciate the handshakes, the support, everything that everybody's done throughout this course of the 8-year investigation. When this investigation started, I was actually a defense attorney. I ran for the prosecutor's office in January 1st of 2018, and I knew coming into that office that this case was one that I would have to investigate. And I made it one of my goals, not only to investigate it, but to get an arrest, have the trial, and get a conviction. And all the support I had throughout that time, I appreciate it. And so, as Trooper Pierce said, I'm going to answer a few questions. The gag order is lifted. You're more than welcome to talk to anybody up here individually afterwards if they want to talk to you. But I will take a few questions here and now.
To help the family navigate the emotions of the swirling narrative outside of the gag order.
Cannot hear what they're saying. Somebody definitely, he got his nose broken or something happened with his nose. That's not how his nose was before. If you go back to his very first, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because he's getting older. I don't know. There's definitely something up with the nose. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try to hear what these guys are saying.
I want to talk to you, but I will take a few questions here and now.
So are there any articles out from any of these reporters who were able to talk to this panel after?
Now.
What did you do to help the family navigate the emotions of the swirling narrative outside of the gag order and also the hate and vitriol put on these kids?
It's not easy. It's hard to put yourself in their shoes because I've never had a child die. And so it's very difficult. It took a lot of phone calls, text messages, meetings. A lot of it was, hey, try not to read that stuff that you see on the internet, which is easier said than done. But a lot of it was just moral support and leaning on each other to say, we can't violate the gag order. Let's keep our eye on the ball. We need to get the trial, and we want to try to get the conviction, and then we can talk. And so it was just a lot of words of encouragement between each other, moral support, text message, phone calls, those kind of things.
What
Go ahead.
happened with Ms. O'J at the end of the hearing? What was that fight about?
It wasn't a fight. She was just commenting about some things that were said at sentencing, and I'm just going to keep those things to myself.
In your face, though, that's not fighting.
Well, I don't know if she got up in my face. I'll just keep those things to myself. She was just commenting on things that were said at the sentencing. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's because they were talking about the defense team during sentencing also. Right?
The defense has made it clear they plan to appeal. Your thoughts on their chances?
Well, it's not up to the defense. It's up to the defendant. I'm not going to repeat his name. He's the defendant at this point. And so he has 30 days to file notice with the court that he wants to appeal. If he doesn't file that notice, then there is no appeal. And so once he files that notice, we'll deal with it accordingly. We'll work with the Attorney General's office to represent the state, and we'll give them whatever support that they need in order to draft a response to that appeal.
But I guess given all the questions and all the rest of it up here and how frustrating it was, your confidence in the security of this verdict and in this maximum sentence?
I feel confident in the verdict and the sentence. But again, I'm not on the Court of Appeals, so they'll have to make that decision if it comes to them. Sorry, Ms.
That sounds like Frankmeister.
Well, at this point, we don't believe any other actors are involved. We don't have any evidence to support that. If evidence comes out in the future to support that, we'll obviously investigate that. We're not going to say, hey, no, we got the conviction. We're not listening to what you have to say. But at this point, we have no other evidence showing that any other actors were involved. If Richard Allen himself, the defendant, wants to come forward and give us more information, we'll gladly accept that. Is that the reason for the amended charges? The amended charges were we added the 2 counts of intentional murder. I did that because I thought it was appropriate at the time. Thank you. Yep.
Can you tell us more about the
Hold on just a minute. Do you have a question?
Yeah, can you tell us, or maybe asking to speak on behalf of other people, how it makes you feel with the guilty verdict and the sentence? Obviously, definitely you guys want it, but how does it make the entire team feel to get to where we are today?
I think, I hate to speak for everybody, but I think, I hate to be cliche and use the word justice, but justice, vindication, to show that the people standing behind me weren't liars, weren't corrupt. You know, those hate mails and hate messages continue to come in from.
I'm sorry, Mr. McLeland, but the verdict doesn't have anything to do with whether I think that your people are incompetent or corrupt. That's kind of why I'm still right here. So, no.
Some podcasters, some YouTubers, but I think just justification that, okay, we conducted a clean investigation, we presented the evidence as best we could, and the jury were convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty.
Nick,
Yes.
does this now mean that all the other men are cleared? Can you use that word?
Who is all the other men?
The other men that were looked at during the course of the investigation that you always said we couldn't say that they're cleared, can you now say they're cleared?
I may not use that word clear, but what I can tell you is we don't have any other evidence that ties them to the offense at this time. What do you mean looking into the Anthony Shots profile?
That sounds like Reno right there.
To have any other,
Cleared? Can you now say they're cleared?
I may not use that word clear, but what I can tell you is we don't have any other evidence that ties them to the offense at this time. What do you mean looking into the Anthony Shots profile? Well, it didn't fade it out. He was convicted of what, 34, 35 counts? Not that we have any information of that right now.
Oh, shit, I wish I could hear the last part of that question.
Christmas is 5 days away. This is an emotional time of year for a lot
Sure.
of folks, and you've lost people and this kind of thing. Can you?
There's no significance in my mind of the timing. Once a person is convicted, they have a right to be sentenced within 30 days. And so I think the timing just was to try to get it in before the holidays because a lot of people do have time off and and the courthouses are closed. So there's no significance in my mind to the timing, but that it worked in everyone's schedule.
I just mean that it's the time of year when people are with people they love. These 2 little girls are not with their families today.
I'm not sure I understand your question, but regardless of the time of the year, I imagine it's hard for the family to not be with the victims any day, whether it's somebody's birthday or somebody's anniversary, the other holidays we have out throughout the year. You know, Christmas is probably especially difficult. Again, I don't expect this verdict or the sentence to bring peace to the Patties, the Germans, or the Williams. I don't know what at this point could ever bring peace to a family member that loses a child or a parent that loses a child. What I hope is what I said. I hope it's a sigh of relief that this portion is over and that the conviction as it is now stands and that he's been sentenced to the maximum possible sentence. I hope that is a sigh of relief for them. And I hope that they now, like Superintendent Carter, can continue to heal and start to put this chapter behind them. That's why the plea to the media, please do not recirculate those pictures, because all that does, as Mr. Erskine said in his victim impact statement, it's like a scab or a wound that scabs over that is constantly ripped open. It's a constant reminder that our loved ones are put in this vulnerable position.
Next, should people face criminal charges or any kind of charges if they do publish or share those pictures?
My opinion is if the Indiana code allows criminal charges to be pressed for those kind of thing, if something comes in my office, criminal charges will be pursued if the criminal code allows it.
Which it doesn't. So let's move on.
Well, he can ask some questions after we're done here. So
Would you concede that there are some holes in this case or things that cannot be explained, but you guys were not able to explain?
I'm not going to concede that. No. Go ahead.
What? Hold on.
Sure. Go ahead. Some questions, criminal charges to be pressed for those kind of thing. If something comes in my office, criminal charges will be pursued if the criminal code allows it. Well, he can ask some questions after we're done here. So
Would you concede that there are some holes in this case or things that cannot be explained, but you guys were not able to explain?
I'm not.
There are holes in this case that you guys were not able to explain. Would you concede that there are holes in this case that you guys were not able to explain? And he says, I'm not going to concede that.
Going to concede that. No. Go ahead.
Today to the defendant's conduct, specifically him rolling his eyes throughout
Sure.
the trial. Your take from your professional perspective, you tried other cases. I'm sure you've watched him throughout the case. What was your reaction now? He was that.
It's hard for me to see him because the way we were seated, especially during the trial, we were kind of all crammed. We call it the well. We're kind of all crammed in there. So it's kind of hard for me to focus on him. And the way I try cases is I'm pretty focused on what I'm doing. And I try not to get sucked into the reactions of other people. I like to watch what the jury's reactions to certain things are. And so a lot of the stuff that she commented on, I didn't see from him. What I did notice from him is what I said in my sentencing recommendation, just the lack of remorse and the lack of regret, the lack of emotion, I guess, when the images of the victims are put up on the screen. You know, as a father, when I see those things, and you've probably seen me up here and other places, I get a little emotional about it, and it's hard not to. And so the lack of those things kind of struck me. I didn't see him roll in the eyes of the judge, of course, but obviously never a good thing to do. So those are my comments on that.
Weird, because Holman says he actually did see him rolling his eyes at the judge. But Nick didn't see that. But the lack of remorse or the lack of like accountability, I don't know if that wasn't the word that he used, but if he didn't do it, why would he have those things? Please explain how the BG still has BG by platform 5 with a tree growing and there is no tree near platform 5. Hold on, let me pull up the map.
Just one more. That'll be good. Yeah, sorry.
What piece of evidence, like from his demeanor to any parts of your case, what piece of evidence do you think did it for the jury, and then also what was the maximum sentence? What do you think got us here?
Oh gosh, I don't know what did it for the jury. I think it was a culmination of everything that we had. I think once you start stacking that evidence against him, and as it stacks up, it's hard to say that the defendant isn't bridge guy. And if you can accept that he's bridge guy, you can accept that he's the killer. And that to me is the bottom line. And so.
If you have a message for Richard Allen, you could talk to him face to face right now after all this has been said and done. What would you say to him?
I think I would just echo what the superintendent said and what Sheriff Liggett said and some of the things that were said by the victims' families at court. If he truly wants to apologize to the families and admit to what he's done, now's the time to do that. So.
Can you say today that Carroll County is safer than it was 8 years ago?
I believe so.
What steps have been taken to make it safer?
Well, I think it's safer in the sense that people can have that sigh of relief to say, okay, we got the guy, we got the conviction. And so I think in that sense, it's safer. I've always thought I was born and raised here in Carroll County. I left, of course, to go to college and law school, but then I came back. And so this has always been my hometown. It's been my hometown for 3 generations or 4 generations of my family. And so I've always thought it's a safe place. And the things that Sheriff Liggett said, the thing that the victim said in the sentencing, that wasn't fluff, that we didn't lock our doors and that we knew everybody else. Those are true statements. This is a traditional, small, Midwestern town. And so I think it's always been safe. I think there can be that pressure off of people now to say, okay, I feel better. We got the guy, we got the conviction, and we know he's going to be in prison for 130 years. So
That'll be it for the questions today and for the press conference. I would just like to say thank you for coming out. As you go about your day, please remember the most important part of this entire thing, and that's the 2 girls that are behind us today. So as you go about your reporting, please do that and have a safe trip home. Thank you.
Well, that was interesting. Court TV, let me see.
Joining me.
Let me see which one this is. When was the explosive revelations made by the private investigator? This one or no? Somebody wanted me to watch this. Hey, Percocent, I'm alive. Okay, let me pull up the map real quick so I can look at. Oh shit. Of course, it needs to be all logged back in. You guys, when you wanted Vinny's, is it this one that you want or no? Well, I thought it was. Is it a different one? No, not that one. Okay, let me go. Let me find it then. Is it on his channel or on Court TV? Yeah, because that's incorrect. It's on Court TV. Okay. So, oh, when he's playing the press conference, is it this one then? Jeez, that's fucking loud. Court TV from like 4 days ago. There's a short. Okay. Let's see. I don't see a short. I don't see a short for Delphi.
I'm here and I brought the link.
Hey, perfect. You brought the link?
Yes.
Okay.
I just sent it in the private chat. It's not a short. It's like a whole segment. The clip of the thing that I put up that's like where he, like, I don't know the timestamp.
Okay.
If you go through, go to right at the end of Doug talking there. Did you see him? Keep going to the right. Okay, back. Yep, right there. Start there.
Okay. I'm trying to get my map to open so I can pull that up for Michael.
I have to say, Vinny's reaction to this was like one of my faves.
I fucking love Vinny, dude. I know he's so just his facial, his reactions. I just am like, he's just always like, oh.
He reminds me of like someone in my family where they'd be like, why is he yelling? But really, we're all just talking. You're the same way, Teresa.
I am. I know. Okay, let me see.
Message to us and to our kids.
This is so loud.
And to this most amazing place we call the United States of America.
Already good. He's so good. It almost looked like he wasn't yet aware that the camera was back on yet. He was... Do it again. Do it again.
That is so good. That is so good.
And to this most amazing place we call the United States of America.
I don't follow it completely what he was saying.
He's like, that's a lot of words. Odd.
I don't follow it completely what he was saying. Yeah, we don't. I don't think anybody does.
To us and to our kids.
Oh, God.
And to this most amazing place we call the United States of America.
I don't follow it completely what he was saying, and I'll just briefly say the solution to everything that he was pointing out is transparency. And the lack of transparency created all those things he was talking about. And there was no transparency in the state of Indiana through the investigation and through the trial. And he started off by saying, I wish you could be in the courtroom. Well, guess what? We could have been. We could have had our cameras in there and our microphones. We would have seen Richard Allen. We would have seen the witnesses. We would have heard the evidence. You want the narrative to change on social media? Let the people see the trial. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Everything you complained about gets fixed with transparency, which you all lacked, led by the judge.
Wow! Fuck yeah, Vinny.
I think I saw this on Christmas Eve. I was more pleased. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say that, like, it was more exciting to watch him go the fuck off than it was to, like, watch my kid open Santa's presents, because I already seen them. This was more shocking.
This is the best Vinny ever.
We need this Vinny all the time.
I want to watch it again.
Yes.
I mean, talk about just perfectly said, Vinny. Perfectly said.
Everything Doug said backfired, clearly.
Because it didn't make any fucking sense. That's why I was like, wait a minute, what? Why is he talking about this?
Tone down the rhetoric. Stop all the politics and all the nonsense and all the conspiracy theories, and understand that we all tried the best we could. That should be the message to us and to our kids, and to this most amazing place we call the United States of America.
I don't follow it completely, what he was saying, and I'll just briefly say, the solution to everything that he was pointing out is transparency. And the lack of transparency created all those things he was talking about. And there was no transparency in the state of Indiana through the investigation and through the trial. And he started off by saying, I wish you could be in the courtroom. Well, guess what? We could have been. We could have had our cameras in there and our microphones. We would have seen Richard Allen. We would have seen the witnesses. We would have heard the evidence. You want the narrative to change on social media? Let the people see the trial. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Everything you complained about gets fixed with transparency, which you all lacked, led by the judge. He's like going bonkers on social media and the media. Like what we did was wrong. You should have been in that courtroom. You told us not to be there. All right, I've done enough. I'm off the soapbox. Joining us live from Indiana, Court TV senior.
Fucking amazing.
He's not entirely off the soapbox, but that rant was.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
So this makes a lot of sense then when you have Holman talking about transparency. See, he repeats everything. He doesn't have like an original thought. He just repeats everything.
That's what I told you.
I know, but I thought it was just Richard Allen. But now I figured out it's Liggett, it was Carter. It's now fucking Billy Politan.
Yes. Yes. He had, like, people say it, and like, I know it's meant to be funny, but it really does appear that way, that there were like little points and buzzwords that he was meant to hit, and he had them written down and ready to go.
That's interesting. I almost wish I had seen all of these things before that, because I could have pinpointed so much more of what he was repeating.
Well, now we have the transcript. So now you can just look through the transcript and highlight the parts that are like literal repeats of things other people said.
That's
all the way
crazy.
down to Gull saying direct criminal nexus. You know, Holman never said those words ever prior to that.
He doesn't even know what a foreman is.
He doesn't really know what probable cause. He called him a chairman.
He was the chairman. I can't believe he literally just repeats it. All right, hold on. I'm going to show the one with Bob on it, but I'm going to listen to Barbara. I've not seen this at all, so let me play this real quick.
Your producer Barbara McDonald, who was there and was in the courtroom, and I'm so glad.
I'm thinking that she just listened to him, because look at the smile on her face.
Yeah, she was proud.
She's one that I think that I want to hear. I want to hear from Tobe. I really want to hear from Tobe, and I want to hear from Barbara McDonald. I have a list.
Well, no, you'll not hear from Tobe or probably anybody else, because that's why they sent Holman out there to say a lot of people are afraid to talk. probably nobody's going to come forward and talk. Like, that was letting everybody know that he's the only one that's going to come forward and talk.
Why?
They probably
Why
don't want.
Tobe wasn't even at the presser.
Yeah.
I have listened to Bob Mata and the PI woman, but I'll go back and play that one. But let me listen. I want to listen to Barb. Hold on.
Glad she was. Wow. That was strange. That was really strange. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it like I see it, because he was throwing shade at the media. He was throwing shade at social media. You know, transparency is the disinfectant. Go down to Florida, learn how to do it. I'm sorry. Barbara, tell us what happened inside at the sentencing.
It was a very quick hearing, Vinny. It was about an hour and 5 minutes. The defense chose not to bring any witnesses, not talk about any evidence, not say much of anything at all. They filed a sentencing memo that they said spoke for what they had to say. So we heard from one witness, Jerry Holman, the lead investigator for Indiana State Police, and we heard from 6 family members of Abby and Libby in those victim impact statements that were very emotional and very angry, not only talking about everything that they've lost and the pain and the fear that they have lived with all these years, but also a lot of very harsh words for the defense, that some family members accused of re-victimizing them by some of the efforts that they took to defend Richard Allen from these charges, doing their job, essentially. And that carried over to the press conference as well, with several people commenting about the defense putting out this narrative through that Odinism report and things like that. One interesting moment in court was when Richard Allen was actually being sentenced and the judge was looking straight at him. She did not ask him to stand. And she said, she spoke about the carnage that he left behind and how that's going to cause generational trauma to these families. And then she paused, looked at him and said, and now you're going to roll your eyes at me like you've done throughout this trial. That was something that none of us in the gallery had been aware of. Obviously, we sit behind him in court. We can't see his face. I had not heard any allegations previously that he had been rolling his eyes during the trial. That was something I asked the prosecutor, or the prosecutor was asked about it during the press conference. And I think we have a little bit of that sound as well.
Okay, let's take a listen.
No, I had no idea. I heard Nick was asked that same question, and he didn't see it either. I'll bet the jury did. But again, the jury sees both sides, the state, the defense, the witnesses, Richard Allen, sees how people come in, how they go, but even Nick didn't notice it.
Yeah, so nobody really noticed that in court at all, but perhaps the jury did, Vinny.
All right, let's get back to the
Criminal Network said that they did a Shrek Holman for a thumbnail. We were trying to figure out where the Shrek Holman was.
Oh, so there you go.
I'll have to go
But
look.
he doesn't watch anything, though.
No. How would he even know that? Doesn't pay attention to social media. So anybody who hasn't watched the interview with Holman on HTC, one of the things he complained about twice was that the public had made a meme of him as Shrek. And we were like, wait, we've not seen that. Where's that at?
The press conference, Barbara. And by the way, when it comes to the family and everything else, that's why our cameras want to be there, to capture those moments so the public understands. Mm-hmm. Like it's radio silence, like it's nothing. I hope you read the transcripts. Nobody's going to read the transcripts. Let's be honest. Are you providing the? No, we could have seen and heard all of this to understand the case. How do you trust the system of justice? He's telling us how great the system is. I say that all the time. But how can people trust it if you don't see it in action? If everything is done in darkness? Crazy.
Absolutely. And there's so many ways that the cameras can be accommodated in court. Even the court can provide a camera in the back of the courtroom to make the process easier. And I think that was badly needed in this case.
All right. So let's tell us about this press conference, because this was, and we showed a piece of it, but there was a lot more to this whole thing.
Yeah, so they did take a few questions. Only the prosecutor responded to the questions. At one point, somebody tried to ask Superintendent Carter a question, and Nick said he's not going to be answering right now. I'm answering the questions. And the question that I had was, throughout this process, they have said they can't clear all these other men that they looked at, some of the men that the defense talked about, other men, Ron Logan, Kegan Kline. And so that was my question, was now can you clear those men? You have caught the person that you say did this by himself. You have sentenced him to 130 years. Are those other men cleared? And it was an interesting response.
Now mean that all the other men are cleared? Can you use that word?
Who is all the other men?
The other men that were looked at during the course of the investigation that you always said we couldn't say that they're cleared. Can you now say they're cleared?
I may not use that word cleared, but what I can tell you is we don't have any other evidence that ties them to the offense at this time.
And I asked Superintendent Carter about that when I had a chance to talk to him one-on-one after that press conference. Here's what he had to say.
We don't say clear to anybody. I appreciate the question. I appreciate it when you asked it in there. Human behavior is kind of interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating. And just because this trial is over, other than the appeal process, which is okay, that doesn't mean that somebody's not going to come forward and give us some additional information of what occurred maybe before the murders.
And that's rather interesting, what occurred before the murder.
I like that you asked the question in there. Also, human behavior is pretty interesting. What? Where did that come from? What?
That was something I wanted to hear during the trial. What was exactly going on for Richard Allen in his head? What was going on in his life? And that was something we did not hear at trial. We only heard about what he did that day leading up to the murders. And so I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions for a lot of people, Vinny, that, I asked Superintendent Carter also, is the tip line going to stay open? And he said yes.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you're in a much different perspective than most of us, right? You got to see the trial and hear the evidence, so you have something to draw upon. The rest of us, obviously, we listened to your reporting, et cetera, but we didn't get to experience, we didn't get to see it, we didn't get to hear it. And that's such a disservice, especially for a case like this, where you're dealing with all of these other theories, other suspects, the defense is saying all these other things. Like, all right, let's see the evidence. Does it all make sense? And that's how you cure it. I still don't get their tact. All right, how about the defense? Did they speak today?
They said very few words. Bradley Rosie did get up after the victim impact statements were read, after several of the family members spoke about the defense and the stunts they pulled and the re-victimization of them from the defense. And he's just asked the judge not to consider any of those comments that were about the defense attorneys in her sentencing of Richard Allen. I'm not sure it really mattered. I think he was going to get the 130 years regardless, and he did.
Yeah, he was getting the max. Like, we know he was getting the max, right? And if he did what he did and the jury said he did what he did, he should get the max.
Absolutely.
Right, 130 is less than, I guess, life without parole. So it's, it sounds like a lot, but it's, life without parole to me is a more severe sentence. But 130, that's, it gets the job done. Somebody who does what he got convicted of doing should never walk a free man again. I mean, to me, that's obvious. There's really no wiggle room there. Barbara McDonald, great job. Fantastic, as always. Thank you so much. When we come back, we're going to speak with a private investigator who has worked this case, plus coming up next hour. Coming up on...
Oh, wait, is this like just the longer version of of that other one that I was looking at? Or are they back on here again? Because I guess I'm confused. Is this like the clip with Erica in it? Is it not? Maybe it was just separate. They like pulled that chunk out.
Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Abby and Libby themselves. Libby for recording the defendant as he walked across the bridge.
Near Mears Gate entrance to the trails when she sees this bridge guy, right? This is the guy on the video, the bridge, 356.
And for good reason. The decision was made.
His wife, Kathy, wasn't there today, right? In the courtroom for the trial, Bob Mata and
it is the same one. It's just they must have just pulled this out and made it its own video at one point, because
private investigator worked on the case for nearly 2 years, is close with Richard Allen's family. Erica Morse is with us. Thank you both for being here. Eric.
So I'll tell you guys, I did watch this interview with Bob and Erica on here. I was not a fan. I'll just tell you that right now. I did not think it was a good interview. Hold on. My chair is not in the right position. There's a couple things that she says that I know at this point she's now walked back because it was bad info. And maybe she should have probably taken a breath before hopping on and doing an interview. That's the only thing I can think of for court TV at least. Because there's definitely some inaccurate information that goes out here, and I don't, you know how I feel about that. Did Sleuthy's stream get banned last night? I fell asleep, and when I looked to say, yeah, the HTC copyright struck, copyright struck her on both videos, I believe. Yeah, Bob is uncomfortable the whole time. This is not a comfort video for Bob. He's like, yeah, I don't know if you say so, because she's like, Bob will attest to this, and Bob's like, oh, fuck, I don't fucking know. So,
Erica, it's been a while since I've talked to you about this case. So let's talk about this case. Let's start first with Richard Allen. His wife, Kathy, wasn't there today, right?
Gilletta, Hidden True Crime. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, Rachel. I agree. I don't know her, or I don't have any issue with her. I'm just thinking that she was probably this is the day of sentencing, I believe.
No one from the Allen family attended. That was an ongoing discussion between Rick and his family for about the last 2 weeks, Vinny.
But I will say, since we're now talking about the investigators, I know Christine, when she was on True Grit Crimes, made it very clear, she's speaking on behalf of herself. She's not speaking on behalf of the defense team. And I know that, I think it was the lady from the Carroll County Comet that reached out to Ajay and asked if these investigators were speaking on behalf of the defense team. And she said, no, they're not. So just for clarity, both investigators are speaking from their own point of view and perspective of what they've learned over the time that they were investigating. So you kind of have to, but it just sucks because this is what happens though, is when the misinformation goes out, then people think it's accurate and then it's not, and it's hard to walk back. But it is. I mean,
to whether or not they should go, and the decision was made that if Rick's advisement by the defense attorneys was to not participate in the pre-sentencing investigation report, and for good reason, that the family would stand with him in solidarity and not accept the verdict by refusing to show up. It is unfair to watch this family, or to ask this family to watch this man be sentenced for crimes he did not commit in a trial that has to be redone.
So, Erica, tell me, why do you believe he did not commit this horrific double murder?
Oh, well, Vinny, we only have, 20 minutes to talk about it tonight. The Frank's memo, which was not a
So look at the Crystal McCrory Jones case. I am not familiar with it, but I absolutely will pull it up and take a look at it for sure. Thank you for sharing it. She says that it was 5 days that the Odin report was turned in, and 5 days later or 3 days, I don't remember exactly what day she even says, that Ferenczi's killed. She says something about that Ferenczi's targeted, and that the Molotov cocktail was thrown through his window. There is no proof of that. That is not actually out there in any documentation anywhere. So whether that's accurate or not, but we know that, you know, he wasn't killed until July 7th, and I think that she says he was killed in June. It's nothing that's like earth shattering, but I just feel like it's different, like for one of us who's out here just talking about it versus somebody who is coming from somebody who investigated the case or is, you know, is still investigating the case. I think that I just think I feel like she was too emotional to do it yet. That's really all I have to say about it. Like, I feel like she was too emotional to do it yet. She should have just waited. Mika's headphone says, that's Crystal's sister, by the way, T. I think Ange got sent info too just before Christmas. It's a sad case that needs more eyes. Perfect. Thank you. I'm sorry about your sister, but yeah, I don't know anything about the case, so I will absolutely I'll pull up some info. He got called into the head teacher's office.
Concoction of the defense team. It was a highly and very thoroughly investigated extension of a report created by an FBI task force who developed that theory. And the man who authored that report died at the hands of an Odinism prison guard 5 days after he turned that report in.
Wait. Say that again?
To tell you, Vinny. Bob, back me on this. Am I lying?
Yes, and
I'm
not
talking about Greg Ferenczi, who was one of the three authors of the Odin report that Click, Ferenczi, and Kevin Murphy all put together because they continued that line of investigation for years until Greg Ferenczi was killed, and that was in front of a federal building shortly after he turned in that document.
Explain this to how was he killed? So the man who was killed was working for the FBI or was part of the task force? Who exactly was he?
He was one of the three members of the task force tasked with investigating all of the tips related, and I mean all of the tips related to a particular group of individuals. And Greg authored the report. It was turned in, I believe, on May 2nd. And he, on May 7th, was sitting in an office inside the federal building in, I believe it was Indy or Terre Haute. And a Molotov cocktail was thrown through his office window. Greg vacated his office, ran outside in front of the federal building, and that is when he was shot in the head by a former prison guard who is very openly tied to Odinism.
So was that prison guard arrested and prosecuted?
See, so there's some of this stuff like very openly tied to Odinism. I've seen a few things that are potential that he definitely could be. I don't know. This is not something I've dug too far into, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking on it because I don't have the answers. But I've never seen any information where the Molotov cocktail was actually thrown through Ferenczi's window, which is what made him be the first person to come out. I've never seen that. I don't know if that's accurate. She also says that that he's been convicted, which he has not. He's actually been deemed incompetent to stand trial at this time. So there's just, like I said, it's just misinformation. I just feel like because she rushed to get on there, she probably just should have waited and not been emotional about it. That's all. I mean, that's really my bottom line. Hey, Gam. Yeah, well, I mean, the defense has come out and said that she's not speaking on behalf of them, according to the Carroll County comment. So,
yes, and charged, convicted.
When Christine was on with True Grit Crime, like I said, I've only seen the first part of it, but I haven't watched the second part. But she was much more composed, like she had gotten her thoughts together a little bit more. I just feel like she's too emotional to be on here at this moment, and I don't mean anything bad about her. I'm not talking bad about her at all. I just feel like she should have waited. I read it elsewhere that it was thrown through his window, and that is what. Yeah, could you find that? I've never seen it. So, Zachariah Anderson. That's another one I believe absolutely innocent.
Yes, sir, he was. And this is one of the many details about the Delphi case that the state does not want the world to know. They don't want the world to know that Todd Click has been charged with unrelated crimes, another member of that task force. They don't want to know about the number of people associated with this case who have died or been charged, myself included. They don't want the world
Wait, you've
to know
been
what's
charged with
happening in
something now?
Indiana. The bloods, I got to be careful.
Right.
But the blood spatter expert who testified at the Delphi trial was at my home alone, inside my home, 2 days before he testified in the trial.
Yeah, and this didn't make any sense to me either. So the blood spatter person was in her home 2 weeks before the trial, or
Bob can attest to that.
But it never goes into anything else. I'm like, okay, where are we going here? This didn't make a lot of sense to me.
There's so much y'all don't know, Vinny. There's so much. People are scared. And then to have Doug and
that's exactly
it. Sit there today and disparage us for the work we've done and talk about the transparency that they claim occurred in a case where there was none, where the defense team wasn't even allowed to present a case. Let's go. I'm ready. I told you I was going to talk starting the day the gag order was lifted. Let's do this.
Bob, what are you? I'm trying to make some sense of all this. So it seems like there's a big backstory here to the whole Odinism angle. And I just want to clarify this, right? So there's a task force that's part of law enforcement. And there's some members of this task force who had a different theory. They did not believe Richard Allen, or Richard Allen wasn't even on the radar yet for anyone, but they believed that the murder of these two girls was connected to some sort of Odinistic or Odinistic group ritual killing. And what you're telling me is that one member of that group who authored that report is no longer alive. Another one's been arrested for something.
Right before trial. Unrelated to the case, but
is he law enforcement or is she law enforcement? Like the people on this task force, were they law enforcement officers?
Oh yeah, these were all longtime cops. These were all decorated. I mean, just Google Greg Ferenczi. You'll see immediately this guy was highly respected. All of these cops were longtime cops. And that's kind of what we've been saying about, this concept of Doug Carter getting up there and casting shade on the defense for doing their job. Number one, let's just understand that it's their job, and everything that was in that Frank's memo that people on the Richard Allen is guilty. They created this whole narrative thing. The defense did side. I don't know if they just don't realize that all of that came from the discovery tendered to the defense by the state. None of this was cooked up by the defense.
Right.
That exact report we're talking about was in the discovery. That report that we're talking about right now was in the discovery. So when they start talking to these cops, obviously Ferenczi wasn't there to talk to, but the defense called Click, deposed Click. They deposed Kevin Murphy or called Kevin Murphy. They were like, what is this all about? Does this thing have legs?
Wow.
I mean, everything that was in that Frank's memo.
Stay where you are. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll discuss more of these explosive revelations.
Not accurate.
I don't think it's accurate.
Do you think that the public perception of Richard Allen is not accurate?
I don't think it's accurate. Richard Allen's a murderer.
Okay, Richard Allen today was sentenced to 130 years in prison for the Delphi murder.
You can't argue he is a convicted murderer at this point, but I mean, it doesn't mean I agree with the process and how he got there, and that I can talk about. I suppose the charges against Erica are as believable as those against Click. Same strategy used. Yeah, I agree. That's what I mean. I don't mean any shade to her. Like, I don't want anybody to take it that way. I don't mean that. I just felt like she should have probably waited. That was it.
But right now we're going over some explosive revelations that are being brought by a private investigator who's investigated this case for 2 years. She is with us, Erica Morse, along with Bob Mata, criminal defense attorney, host of Defense Diaries. I've got this information, and I just pulled this up. You know, you're hitting me with this tonight, Erica, but I want the folks at home to hear this, because this is a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office. A federal grand jury in Indianapolis returned an indictment today, and obviously this goes back in time to 2022, charging a Terre Haute man with the murder of a federal officer, attempted arson of federal property, and using a firearm during a crime of violence causing death. The charges against Shane Meehan, 45, stem from the July 7th, 2021 killing of Terre Haute police detective and FBI task force officer Gregory Ferenczi. Meehan was previously charged by a federal criminal complaint. According to court documents, on July 7th, Meehan drove his pickup truck to the gate of the FBI resident agency building in Terre Haute. Meehan exited his truck and threw a Molotov cocktail toward the building. Shortly thereafter, Terre Haute police detective and FBI task force officer Gregory Ferenczi walked out of the building, just like you said, and was confronted by Meehan, who was holding a firearm. Meehan shot Ferenczi, who died of his injuries. Now, the U.S. attorney doesn't indicate anything about the investigation or the report connected to Odinism, but what you're saying is the report is handed in 5 days before this happened?
The report was turned in on the 2nd of May, and Greg was killed on the 7th.
Wow. Was any of this litigated, Bob? When was all these revelations coming out first, Erica? When were these pieces put together? And when did you like understand, like, oh my goodness, there might be something else going on here?
All right, so here's the Meehan article on him being deemed incompetent. It doesn't talk about that it was through Ferenczi's window. It's same concept as what Vinny just read. It's that it was towards the building. So he also had more Molotov cocktails in his car and more ammunition in the car after they arrested him. Yeah, but it was more like 2 months. But like I said, that's just a little piece of info. He's incompetent. He will be set up for serious. Has been ruled incompetent. He will still be up for serious penalties. After the ruling, a judge remanded Meehan into the custody of the U.S. Attorney General's office. Meehan will be committed for another 4 months of psychological evaluation and rehabilitation in the hopes that he will be fit for trial after another round of treatment. If after 4 months Meehan is still ruled unfit for trial, the judge could choose to dispose of the charges. Now, disposing of the charges does not mean that Meehan would walk free. In these scenarios, it is common for a judge to mandate that the suspect be sent to a high-security mental health facility to continue treatment involuntarily. However, the federal code says the case would be dismissed, meaning that Ferenczi's murder would never technically be solved, even though he would be put away in a mental health facility. So that's kind of the update on that.
Kind of pumped the brakes for a second and went, what the hell are we dealing with here? And
well, how do we know that Shane Meehan is does he claim to be an Odinist?
Yes, and he his employment is listed throughout the trial as a former prison guard in the DOC. And as you recall, we had a lot of problems with prison guards inside the DOC being Odinists. Oh gosh, I hope I'm here in 24 hours, Vinny. A lot of problems with allegations about Odinist prison guards, and some of those guys testified at trial. Again, there was a reason why cameras weren't allowed in that courtroom. There was a reason why pen and paper only were allowed. And as Andy Baldwin said, a couple of years ago, standing inside one of the courthouses, he said, it's time for journalists to be journalists. And we were begging you guys, while being stifled, silenced, threatened, retaliated against, gagged, to dig deeper and deeper, because we couldn't tell the world what was happening. But what we continued to do throughout the process is file motions and provide information that should have been allowed in at trial to be explored by a jury. And not only was it not allowed, but then today, a very extreme effort was made to shut down any attempt to let us talk about it. And listen, I'm all in at this point. An innocent man was just sentenced to 130 years in prison today. His wife has become one of my best friends. And I can't let this go. Rick Elam is an innocent man, and we can prove it.
All right, stay where you are. We're going to do an extra segment on this. We're going to take a short break right now, but Bob Motta, Erica Morse staying with us. Big night here. Richard Allen sentenced to 130 years, but now, is there more to the story? We'll be right back.
Closing arguments coming up next, only on Court TV. Join Court TV's Vinny Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinny Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
Baldwin, can you provide any comment?
Journalism. It's time for you guys to start being journalists.
That was the
that line's going to go down in history.
Call from Richard Allen's attorney in the Delphi murder case. And we're in the midst of doing some of that right now on this program. Welcome back. Richard Allen, 130 years. He was sentenced today, presented no evidence, said nothing. They're going, banking on the appellate process in all of this. Erica Morse is with us, private investigator. Has worked this case for 2 years. Bob Motta knows this case inside out, has been covering it in defense diaries. Bob Motta's a great attorney. So the man who shoots and kills the author of the Odinism report and shoots and kills the FBI task force member who's a Terre Haute detective is now in a hospital, not competent to stand trial, apparently, for these federal charges. He's having mental issues. So I don't know what's going on there. Bob Motta, let me ask you a quick question. Quick answer. What can the defense team do with this information? And this, does this become anything that can be used to get a new trial?
Yeah, I mean, a bulk of it was contained in the Franks memo. I mean, that a huge amount of what we've been talking about was contained in the Franks memo.
It's larger than that. If you've got someone who's alleged to be a former Department of Corrections Odinist who shoots and kills the author of the guy who says the Odinists are responsible for the murder of Abby and Libby.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to make that connection. I don't know if that connection's been made. Certainly wasn't brought up by the defense in that context because they're worried about defending Richard Allen.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying?
So that connection, is that new evidence that could get you potentially a new trial?
If it has legs.
Okay. Erica Morse, does it have legs?
It has legs, and there's a lot of new information. The one thing I really have to stress here is that this defense team a group of individuals assigned and then some others brought on by request, independently and collectively. You know, we keep hearing countless hours. Well, I did a little bit of very conservative math today, and I'd say on our end, conservatively, 22 to 25,000 hours as a team on this case. And we have done such thorough investigating. We took that 27-page Odin report and turned it into a 136-page Frank's memo. And there is a reason they fought to keep that out. And there is a reason why every time we tried to get it in, it was shut down quickly. We have conflicts of interest running amok in this case. We have very strange timelines that don't fit. For those who were in the courtroom today, there was the one thing that Brad did ask was that the record be corrected to reflect that Rick was not arrested on October 28th, that he was actually arrested on October 26th. And I can tell you that I've spent the last 2 weeks of my life going through every minute of October 26th through October 28th, and it has resulted in a lot of new information.
Okay. We're out of time for tonight, but obviously we will continue to follow up on this. Erica Morris, appreciate you coming on and providing some of this new information. Obviously, it gives us something to work on. Bob Mata, thank you as well. All right.
Yes, thank you, Bob Mata. I don't know if you guys noticed in the closed captions, it keeps calling him Bob Matter. Bob Matter. I'm glad that they did that, because that's always been an issue for me too. Is that, I mean, they do have a 48-hour hold. They can hold him in Indiana, you know, prior to quote unquote arrest, but he was taken into custody on the 26th. So everything that they were doing in the 26th, 27th, and technically the 28th still was to try to find something that they could put in that probable cause affidavit for arrest that was enough for the judge to sign off on it. That's why we've heard rumors so many times of that there was multiple, and why we've somewhat seen multiple when they add in probable cause affidavits to the other documents like the search warrant. They're not the exact same. They're different. They have different details. Yeah, how many times did they go to Diener for help with the PCA? Yep. Tiffany, I'm glad you did too. I change my stocks at least 5 times a day. I couldn't imagine being in Westville. Yeah, for sure, Michael. Give me 1 second. I'll send you the link. I'll put it up on my phone. Please read this unhinged Diener rant. Yours? Where is it? What unhinged Diener rant? Did I miss it in chat? Murphy's report was 12 pages. Clicks was 85. There wasn't a Odin report. Him being arrested on the 26th wasn't new. Hi, Michael. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you, and I just got to kill the computer version.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, well, maybe we'll make Luke happy, and I'll have some internet problems. Hey, any chance you could, we're talking about Rick's arrest. Any chance you can pull up and share the letter and envelope where he asked the court to appoint counsel for him?
Yeah, let me see if I can grab it really quick. You know, speaking of internet issues, my computer has not been doing very well the last few weeks, so I'll do what I can. Let me see. Sleuthy may want to send it to me, and it'd probably be much faster.
Well, so I have a question actually for everybody in the chat, and actually anybody else who, it's a conundrum. When you look at the, I'm going to wait to ask the question until the envelope comes up.
Okay. My docs are loading. I pulled the map up so we could talk about your comment about the BG by the tree too.
Oh, you got the links to those pictures?
Well, I have the pictures, but I also have my map where it's got the letter with the envelope where Rick Allen asked for help with the attorneys.
Yeah. So it was filed. It was shown filed on November 9th of 2022.
Okay.
I think your audience is going to find this pretty peculiar, and I don't really have an answer for it, but maybe somebody out there does. But the thing about the BG photo is, so I got a photo. So there's a link much farther up in the chat to a picture. It's a still from a video that Julie Melvin shot on the 10th of March of 2017 of the bridge, looking back to the north. And the tree that is in the background of the BG still, right, the enhanced thing that they put up.
Yes.
The tree's there, and there is no platform anywhere near it. And if you look at the BG still, right behind him is platform 5 with the tree growing up between the platform and the bridge.
Okay, hold on.
I much prefer investigating to lawyering.
You should do that. Everything's just going really slow for me, so I apologize. It's going to take me a minute to do like anything. I can't get my messages to open now. You probably have better Wi-Fi than I do at this point.
I don't know. I got Xfinity, you know, sometimes it goes, but I think Luke's exaggerating about my internet problems being well known. Maybe they are.
See, my pictures don't want to load. Nothing wants to load. Son of a bitch.
Well, I can ask the question in general terms. I mean, having the envelope would be actually in front of people would be helpful, but I can. Oh, there's DB's got a link in the chat.
Yeah, he sent it to me, but I can't get my Discord to open. So
You can't get it's not in Discord, it's on Google Drive.
Yeah, he sent me the Google Drive link in that. I can't get any other window to open right now, so that's kind of where my struggle is. So I'm shutting down a bunch of stuff on my computer so that I can hopefully close some other things. I think my computer got tired of me leaving like everything in their mother open, because that's typically what I do.
Uh-huh.
And so now it just doesn't want to work. Like at all. I don't know. My husband's been trying to fix it, but it's not back up to where it was before, where I could just do all things willy-nilly and throw things around.
I get it. Well, let me ask the question in general terms then. Rick writes not entirely general terms. Rick writes a letter to the court. It's postmarked the White County Jail, November, and it's stamped, mailed from the White County Jail. it's got sufficient postage, his return address, and which is in the White County Jail, and it's addressed to the Carroll Circuit Court. It's got sufficient postage.
It's in the back chat.
I can't get back to my StreamYard screen right now, so that's not going to do me any good.
It's got sufficient postage. It's postmarked Indianapolis, so you know, a lot of places like, so I'm in Bloomington, and you know, all of our mail goes to the Indianapolis distribution center. Even if you're mailing, oh, there it is. There it is. And if you scroll down beyond the letter, there's the envelope.
Okay, here we go.
And zoom in on the envelope.
No, I can't. November 1st?
Yeah. You can't zoom in on it? Okay.
Here we go.
So it's addressed to the Circuit Court. You can see that it's postmarked the 1st of November. So Rick wrote it at least, I don't know which day he wrote it, but he wrote it, you know, on the 1st or earlier.
Uh-huh.
And it's addressed to the Carroll Circuit Court with sufficient postage, and it's returned.
No longer in custody.
Well, yeah, and then somebody got, right, no longer in custody, because by the time, so he was shipped off to the DOC on the 3rd. And so the question, you know, for the people in the chat is what would cause a correctly addressed letter with sufficient postage to be returned?
Third floor courthouse, is that correct? Is that what you would address it to? Third floor courthouse?
Yeah, it went straight back to, yeah, I mean, that would get there. It's the right zip code. It's the right, I mean, yeah, it's fine. It doesn't say, it doesn't, if you look at it, so normally if there weren't sufficient postage, there'd be a stamp on it saying insufficient postage. If there were, if it had gone to the Carroll Circuit Court or had gone to, you know, something in the courthouse building and they couldn't recognize it as the Carroll Circuit Court, it would have gone back as addressee unknown. It went back to the White County Jail with no reason or stamp on it.
No, return to sender, and then no longer in custody at White County Jail.
Yeah, and they, well, because what happened is it got returned to Rick. He was gone. Somebody looked up his name.
Why it's returned is what I'm saying. Like, there's no. Why is it returned?
Yeah. Were they, you know, was there some sort of hold on his mail? Now, it would have had to have been intercepted in Indianapolis, and I guess with all the scanning capabilities, somebody could do. I mean, I really don't want to get into conspiracies, but you know, what's it about?
I can't see it real well. Is it possible that Gall, like, refused it or sent it back?
Gall wasn't in the case yet. Diener was
true.
gone. Diener
Well,
was
could
gone.
Diener have?
Diener was gone. He was out of the case on the 3rd.
Well, see, there's multiple dates on this. There's November the 1st, November the 7th, and I think November the 4th.
The only postmark's the 1st, I think.
The only postmark is from the 1st.
Right, and then there's a barcode at the bottom that has November 4th, and that covers another barcode.
Right, and then the one on the 7th.
But I'm just wondering, like, would you address correctly? I guess my question is, third floor courthouse, is that, like, how does that, Carroll County Circuit Court, third floor courthouse, like, is there not an address that should be there?
No,
But I mean,
that'll,
I still understand
that
the
would,
point.
that would get there, right cities, right zip code. And there's nothing, there's nothing addressee unknown or, bad address. There's nothing on it.
Yeah, it would say that. It would say like incomplete address, or if it was a wrong address, it would say that too. I mean, I worked for the mail, but not for prisoners. But I don't know. I don't know why.
Well, we know that it made it as far as Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a second barcode on it, but it's also interesting. There's no second postmark on it.
Why did they stamp? So the stamp that says mailed from White County Jail, why did they stamp directly over the same stamp return? It says return. I'm going to assume it says return to sender, but I don't know that for sure. But it says return something no longer in custody at White County Jail. Why did they stamp it right directly over top of the other one?
Because I think somebody, so the mail comes in, somebody looked him up, not realizing he'd been moved to, so he wasn't in the list of people in the White County Jail. So somebody just stamped that. That was fixed because I think it got sent on to the court again. Maybe somebody hand delivered it. Who knows? Except there is that 4th of November barcode on there. And I think they realized what had happened. So somebody originally didn't think he was there, and then somebody figured out what had happened, and they mailed it again.
I would be super curious. Well,
yeah, I don't have an answer about why that. I mean, I guess it would be interesting to know, find out from the post office what exactly those barcodes say.
I do know they have to cover. DB, DB said that they have to cover the old barcode. They do have to do that because when it's scanned in, like for USPS, same thing with packages. If the other barcode is visible, then you won't be able to scan it with the proper one. And so they do cover it up. But I guess my questioning was what Kelt had said to kind of confirm what I was saying. I guess I wasn't too clear, was that like it seemed like somebody tried to line them up. Because see how at the top where it says mailed from White County Jail, nobody re-stamped over top of that either. But these other ones on the side, it's like instead of just, it's like they tried to get it directly on top of it so you like couldn't see.
Yeah, because I think they thought it was a mistake, and that's why maybe they did it that way. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought, maybe somebody in your chat would have an idea of why that might have been returned.
I think I'm more curious about why it doesn't say why it's returned. Like, I mean, there's nothing here that indicates why it's being returned. Like, incomplete address, or because that's the only thing I could come up with is just that it says 3rd floor courthouse. But I mean, you're right. I mean, everything else is the same, but it doesn't have a street address. I don't know. That shouldn't really matter, but
I'm more curious of who taught Richard Allen to write a letter, because everybody knows you're supposed to put the date like on the upper right-hand corner. I would be more interested to know what the date he wrote this letter was and then gave it to them to mail out. For example, was it on the 28th and it never left until the 1st? Like, when did he ask for a lawyer? Do you know what I mean? And why did he have to write a letter?
No, because it says mailed. Well, yeah, so it was at least mailed on the 1st from the White County Jail.
Right, so they could have picked it up, like, say, from his cell or whatever.
Yeah, they could have held it. Yeah. No, they could have held it a number of days.
And what day was the safekeeping hearing that he didn't have representation? The 3rd?
The 3rd.
Well, regardless, if this went out on the 1st, then when she saw him on the 3rd, she should have said, or you know, it should have been brought up there. It's almost like maybe they made it the 4th to make it seem like he didn't ask for it until after the safekeeping hearing.
Which means there would have had to have been a hold on it in Indianapolis.
For clarification, there was no hearing. He was moved on the 3rd. There was no actual hearing because there was nobody to attend the hearing. True. Yes. Thank you, R&M, for clarifying that for me.
Do we know for sure that he didn't physically see the judge on the 3rd? Or whatever day, any day.
Yeah,
any
we
day.
know that. Yeah. So Lesenby signed the safekeeping request on the 2nd. It was filed the 3rd. Diener granted it on the 3rd and then recused himself.
If Diener helped him write it on the 2nd, which came out of his own mouth, why didn't he also grant it and sign? Like, why wasn't it filed and granted also on the same day?
Because Diener might have given him the form and he went home and finished it up on the 2nd. And
how do we talk to Diener? Or is that impossible?
You'd have to depose him, probably.
Would he be able to get out of that?
Probably
Don't
not.
say how,
because,
if he could.
No, because he has unique information about this, and yeah, I
he should be
mean,
deposed for sure. Yes, he granted it in the same breath as he bailed Gambies. Yes. Like the same breath, the same sentence.
Yeah.
No, he didn't put the date on the letter.
No, he didn't put the date on the letter. So there's multiple dates. So the envelope is, it's interesting because the envelope is filed by the Carroll County, the clerk, on November 7th. So filed November 7th. Sharon Milburn.
It's Shannon It's Sharon Milburn, okay?
Milburn.
That's Sharon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But then the letter itself is filed on November 9th.
I'm going back
Yeah,
to 2022.
and that's wrong. That's wrong too, because there's a thing called the mailbox rule, and prisoners get as the date of filing the day they mail something, because they have no control over it.
Okay, so he was arrested on a Wednesday. Charges were like officially filed on a Friday. So we could probably assume the 29th and 30th, maybe the mail doesn't run. The 31st, he could have put it out, and then the 1st is when it was the first date that we see.
Yeah.
He was in jail a long time.
He goes...
But you know, so I don't remember whether it was you, Sluthy, or you, Teresa, but you know, it was a good point that, you know, if it was mailed on the 1st, there's a good chance it would have arrived on the 2nd or the 3rd, and you know, that might have changed the safekeeping situation.
Yeah, like in a sense that if someone had been aware that he was asking for a lawyer, it's kind of more shitty to then turn around with no lawyer while he's asking for one, to then send him into prison.
Especially since under the safekeeping statute, he had an absolute right to refuse the transfer.
Michael, it's been a long time since I looked at the statute, but doesn't, in terms of the safekeeping statute itself, it seemed to read to me much more easy to get out of safekeeping than they've made it appear over the last year and a half.
Well, getting out's one thing, but the statute, so there's the safekeeping statute, I forget which one it is, but there's the main statute, and then there's the next one says that if the only reason that the safekeeping is being requested is for the defendant's own personal safety,
Yes.
he may refuse.
Yes, exactly. I'm
And the
trying to
only
read.
reason Lesenby gave in the safekeeping request was Rick's personal safety, and he was never given the opportunity to refuse.
Okay, so over here where it says like the 46923, which is the zip code, is this number going with this original barcode, or is this going with this barcode put over the top on 11.4? Does anybody know that?
Well, I think the barcode is more than the zip code.
But I'm not. This number right here is the zip code 46923.
Right. And I don't know. And we can't see what the barcode underneath is.
All right, Andrew's up here now too.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so tell us what you got, because you did a whole thing on this.
I did a whole thing. So, what was the question? I was a little distracted. So we're talking about the envelope still, right?
Yeah. Yes. Why would it have been returned?
So there's a theory. Someone, I can't remember who floated this theory out. That maybe a mail spot was put on his mail, and I asked Kara this a couple months ago, actually, and she said that that's not super uncommon. I mean, it's not super uncommon. It's not super common, but it does happen sometimes. Like if there's an ongoing investigation, they might stop somebody's mail if they think if there's like a threat to safety or something. But in this case, it would be very unusual and unnecessary. So she didn't have like an answer as to why they would have done that. There's no reason that they would have, but that is something that they would, like, for example, hypothetically, an ISP lieutenant might be able to do something like that. Or I don't know, just spitballing here. But that's the most likely explanation that we've been able to come up with, is that his mail was like intentionally stopped.
And so the question, and my question about that is, why don't you go to the White County Jail and tell them that, and they stop it there instead of sending it out?
Right. I have no idea. It's almost like I don't know.
Michael, I have an answer to your question, and it's 35-33-11-2, and it says, Section 2, the inmate or receiving authority is entitled to a post-transfer hearing upon request. The inmate may refuse a transfer if the only issue is his personal safety.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
He was entitled to a transfer before and after, and he was not given either. And he wasn't even given a safekeeping transfer hearing. He was given a due process hearing, 3, 4, 5 months later. And then she denied it. So it was pointless.
I'm making the bigger point that it's not that he was. The point is, he was entitled to refuse the transfer to the DOC.
Correct. If by their own admission, and you could use transcripts from the safekeeping hearing of Tobe and others saying that they did not receive any threats. He wasn't making any threats. They weren't worried about himself. That all they were worried about was their ability to protect him and his safety, which would mean on that, whatever I just read, 30, whatever -2, that if the only issue is his personal safety, he can refuse it. But he wouldn't know that because he's not a lawyer.
Right. Exactly. And actually, you don't need to go to the hearing because you just look at the safekeeping request itself.
Well, couldn't an attorney have said, they wouldn't have even necessarily could have talked to him and said he doesn't want to transfer to prison. He wants to stay in the county jail.
Yeah, he could have. And what I'm saying is, you went to the transcript at one of the later safekeeping things, and what I'm saying is you don't need to go to what Pleasanby said at that, because you've got the safekeeping request itself, which says it's just for his personal safety.
Right. You would think a judge would have looked at that and said, well, the inmate or whatever has per the statute, they have to give them the opportunity to refuse this transfer and then ask the inmate.
But isn't it weird though? Because Diener was the one who was saying like his family was being threatened, like the bloodlust of the case, and then he's saying because of the safety of Richard Allen.
Yeah.
Like, so
he literally says this is not based on anything that has to do with the defendant. Like, he says that in the order. He's like, this has nothing to do with any actions of the defendant or toward the defendant. So that right there means there's no finding, and yet he still found that there was an imminent threat, and there wasn't. The whole thing is literally he's a lunatic. It's a lunatic order, and I'm not surprised that he recused himself after writing it. But Rick was like in limbo. We don't even know where the fuck he was. Sorry, we don't even know where he was physically when this is going on. Like, it's.
Apologize for saying the F word. You're funny.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
And I know people up here don't necessarily agree, but I'm still firmly in my belief. And of course, I don't know because I haven't seen anything that would detail me exactly his movements. But I still just, until I see something that actually says that he was at White County at a certain time and didn't go to DOC until now, like, I'm convinced they arrested him without a warrant and then had a judge go in after they've already made the move to arrest him. And then signed saying they had probable cause. And I think they did the exact same with moving them to IDOC. Good night. I think she said, what is that from? With all the kids standing on the steps saying good night, goodbye. Sound of music?
I'm
Is
sorry,
it Sound of
Susie,
Music?
what is it?
Yeah.
What is it, Susie, you're convinced happened?
I'm sorry, what'd you say? We're Sound of Music in it.
What is it you're convinced happened?
Oh, I'm convinced that the same way that they basically made a move to arrest him without discussing probable cause with the judge first, I think they did the exact same thing by then moving him and then having the judge help them do the safekeeping request because they didn't know they had to do that. Like Tobe said himself, he had never done that before. He had never dealt with a safekeeper. I think they moved him. And then I think that Diener a second time helped them do what they needed to legal paperwork wise to cover their asses about moving him to IDOC. I'm convinced he was there before the first. I'm convinced he was probably there before the press conference on the 31st in IDOC.
The only thing about that is that
I don't think that's right.
he addressed the letter, like the return address, like in his handwriting says, the only reason I can't go there with you, and I normally could, is just because he did write White County Jail on his
but what
envelope.
If he wrote that? He was there the 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Like, that's the whole idea is he was there for like 5 whole days before being moved. But he could have written that on a Friday, which would have been whatever I said, 28th, I think.
Oh, you're saying that they just moved him sometime before the 3rd.
Yeah, like after he wrote
and
the
then,
letter,
yeah.
but correct.
Right. I got you. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, Lucy, if you pull up subsection 1 of the statute, the main statute, right?
Yes.
It lists the people who can file for.
Yeah, sheriff, prosecuting attorney, defendant, or his counsel, attorney general, or the court.
Right, but it says the sheriff.
Right,
And
Michael, good point.
it says the sheriff. What sheriff? It has to be the sheriff who has him in custody, which is to say Rick was already in the White County jail and Lesenby had no standing to make the request.
Oh, good point.
And he's also basing his entire motion on the inability of Carroll County Jail to house Rick when he wasn't even there anymore. Like, the whole thing is shady.
That's actually a really, I guess I hadn't thought about when I see the sheriff, I would just think like maybe the sheriff that arrested him. Like, again, I think that there was decisions and movements made that maybe they didn't necessarily think was going to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb because they're not used to it. And so there was a lot of like going back and fixing. And I think that could have been the straw that broke Diener's back, was like, you guys arrested him without a warrant. Now I have to sign off on this problem. You know what I mean? Like, we can't let him go at this point. He's going to leave. We've just arrested him for murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe, you know, perhaps I'm thinking about this too much like a habeas lawyer, but the deal with habeas is that the person you sue is the person who has custody of the prisoner, because what you're doing is you're asking the person who has custody to justify it. And so because it says the sheriff and not a sheriff, and it wouldn't necessarily, you can understand why it wouldn't say a sheriff, because what? You wouldn't want the sheriff in Evansville to file a safekeeping order for somebody in somebody else's jail.
Right. So
And
how did
so,
he get to White County then without any type of, like, can the sheriff of
Exactly.
Carroll County?
the whole transfer to White County was illegal.
So
That
was
would have
it?
been another safekeeping transfer,
That would have
technically. I think.
required a safekeeping
Oh,
order. Because
interesting.
if you look at the main statute, subsection 1, it says you can ask for a transfer either to the DOC or to a county jail.
Right. He should have been in Carroll County.
But
Until there was a safekeeping order.
Yes.
right. What he's saying is there should have been 2 safekeeping orders in order to get him out of Carroll County into White County. He would have had to have a safekeeping order saying he could give him to another county jail.
Right, because the statute says that, like, the DOC is not the automatic. It's like if there's no other county jail that is equipped, then the DOC can take them. But a county jail technically would be a safekeeping transfer, and they just did everything off the record. And then, like you said, Sleuthie tried to go back after the fact. But it is, so what we do know for sure is that the safekeeping transfer was already planned and in motion as of the 28th, because Tobe told Russ McQuaid. I don't think he was physically in DOC until the 3rd, unless we see something otherwise. I do think he physically went from Carroll to White to DOC, but I think that the motion and the order and everything was all just theater, because that was already the plan from the get-go. Like, as soon as they arrested him, they were going to put him in Westville. Like, that was always going to be the plan. So all of the other BS that followed with the motion that Diener wrote for Tobe and then him signing it the same day, like, all of that was just for show, for the record. There was absolutely no consideration or weighing any evidence. Like, they were always going to do this. And that's a problem.
So All Eyes is saying that Carroll County was still the custodian, but another facility can contract the housing without the safekeeping. And I'm wondering, because I don't remember exactly when they'd already started construction or they were about to start construction on Carroll County Jail. And so I don't know if they already had something along the lines of moving inmates or new inmates or anything along those lines. I don't know what they already had in the works.
I don't know, but they still.
Again, I may be thinking too much like a habeas lawyer. You may be able to contract with somebody else to take somebody, but the somebody you contract with becomes the custodian. It's not Lesenby.
Which would still mean that the sheriff of White County would have been the one to have had to ask for safekeeping.
Yep.
Meaning I
And they
can no
didn't
longer
even
keep him here at White County.
And the other thing is that there is nothing in the safekeeping request that says he can't be kept safely in White County.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. So technically, Tobe asked for safekeeping because he can't be kept safe at Carroll County, which is entirely irrelevant because he wasn't even there.
Right.
And I want your all's. I'm curious about that because
I guess that's the big question. Then why did he even have to get moved from White County?
Well, he didn't have to get moved, and you know, with Lesenby having no standing to make the request, standing is a question of jurisdiction. And the saddest thing about this is, at least as I read it, the safekeeping order, because the person who asked for it had no standing to ask for it, the court had no jurisdiction to consider it, much less grant it.
Like, none of this had to happen. None of it.
That safekeeping order was void from the start.
So depressing.
Is Carroll County Jail a penal facility?
Yeah.
Okay. So this other one, the third, section 3, says upon petition, and again, still though, upon petition by the sheriff alleging that one, the local penal facility is overcrowded or otherwise physically inadequate to house inmates, and another sheriff or the commissioner of the Department of Correction has agreed to accept custody of inmates from the sheriff, then the court may order inmates transferred to the custody of the person who has agreed to accept custody. But it says whenever a transfer order is necessary under this section, only inmates serving a sentence after conviction for a crime may be transferred, unless the overcrowding or inadequacy of the facility also requires transfer of inmates awaiting trial or sentencing.
And that requires, and I mean, that just doesn't apply to the request that Lesenby filed. And the other thing is, in order to, if you notice in the statute, it says if the, I think it doesn't the statute say if the court finds?
The first one, like the main one does, yes.
Yeah, if the court finds. That means you got to take evidence.
Right.
And Lesenby's request isn't even verified.
It's not even served, right? Michael, you were saying it hasn't even...
Yeah, it wasn't served. That's another matter. So there's no distribution on it. So nobody was served with that, much less Rick. But what I'm saying is, the judge makes essentially by granting it, makes a finding without any evidence in front of him.
Right.
And he says, accordingly, pursuant to Indiana Code, so he cites the main statute, that 11-1.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's also problematic because if the issue, you know, if the reason that they put him in White County was because they were over capacity or overcrowded, which they often are in Carroll County, okay, but that's not what he argued. Like, he just pretended like Rick wasn't even in White County when he wrote this. He rewrote this motion, or Diener wrote this motion for him as if Rick were in Carroll County, and he wasn't. And at no point do they say anything about capacity or overcrowding or room. They only argue imminent threat of danger because of the high profile. There's no evidence cited. There's no, like, logistical things cited. Nothing.
You said there was no safekeeping thing, but when was his initial hearing? Because
the 28th.
28th is the only time, yeah.
Because he obviously
that transcript. Yep. Sorry, Sleepy.
No, we don't have a transcript of that, and Gull just, in essence, denied the request for the production of the transcript.
Yep. I knew she would, and everyone told me I was crazy. There's something in that they don't want, and I guarantee you that there was fuckery at that hearing. And I would not even be surprised if safekeeping was uttered or mentioned, or they discussed it at that hearing. And that's the problem.
That's a really important one to have, considering Diener writes in his order that specifically at that hearing, Richard Allen said he was going to hire private counsel. So that would be like a really important thing to know for sure.
And he also says, and then I advised him of this, and this, and he was clad in protective gear. He like paints us a picture of this hearing, but we have no idea if any of that is accurate.
She denied the transcript
of
his initial hearing on the 28th when he was formally charged.
Insane. Fucking insane. This woman's insane. I'm sorry. That's insane.
Andy has a question for Michael. So is it not structural error to deny the right to counsel and to be present at his own fucking hearing, essentially? But they never held an actual hearing. So is there not some type of like major issue with that whole thing to begin with?
Yeah, there is, and there are a few big details that I really can't go into at the moment.
That's fine.
What about this section 4 that says, whenever the court finds that the circumstances which necessitated a transfer under this chapter no longer exist, it shall order the sheriff to return the inmate to the county jail from which he was transferred. How are they not able to get him out? Well, I guess if there's really no actual reason that makes any type of sense for why he was transferred in the first place, there's really no way for her to determine that it no longer exists.
Well, there is where so at one point where she denied it, I think without a hearing, Brad and Andy, maybe it was Brad, I don't remember who, maybe it was Brad who was handling it. You'd know better than I, Sleuthy. You're all over everything. They had it arranged. I mean, in their pleading, they said, Cass County had agreed to take him. And so that by itself shows that the condition no longer exists.
Well, and she not only refused to then transfer him, but instead of addressing the circumstances for why he was transferred in the first place, and the fact that it's no longer necessary and that the jail he was at previously was willing to take him back, she instead basically called them liars and said that he was being treated perfectly fine and actually better than others.
Hey, I see Teresa's got the BG still up there.
Yeah, so I wanted to go back to this too, because this is one of the things that I had pulled up earlier. So the platform, are you talking the platform that's right here? Is
yeah, the platform, and if you zoom in on that, you can see it actually looks like the tree is growing out from the middle of between the bridge and the platform. But in any case, the tree is right there next to the platform, right?
So from my understanding, it's right behind the platform. So I was going to show you.
Do you have the other picture I sent the link to?
So the tree is like here, and then the platform is here.
There is no platform. Yeah, platform 5 is way down.
Yeah, this is platform 5 right here.
Yeah, it's not, and you can't explain that by the zoom. I mean, look at the picture. I mean, if you have that link that's way up, I sent you the link to the picture of the still from Julie Melvin's video on the 10th of March of 2017, and there is no platform anywhere friggin' near that tree.
All right, let me see.
I don't know where.
I mean, I can send it again.
That's fine. I'm just going to pull up her channel. What date was it from?
Well, I took a screenshot. I took a still screenshot off it. It was March.
Yeah, send
10th.
it again.
I could just pull up the video and still it here too. What day did he say? March what? It was one of her first
March
ones.
10th,
I know it.
But
it was March 10th. But here comes the. Let me see. It's in the investigation.
It's not a short video. Also, where's Julie been? I haven't seen her.
I don't know. I need to call her because she called me when I was down and out, and I haven't returned her call yet. I need to get on that. She has a lot from March 5th.
Hang on.
March 5th?
I'm coming. Here it comes.
Okay.
Well, I hope it's come. Oh, I pasted it in the wrong box. Sorry. Internet problems, Luke. Internet problems, right? There it is.
Where's it coming to?
It's in the chat. I can send it. I can. Do you want it as a text?
Yeah. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure. Pulling it up. Hang on. You should have it.
I think she's on the platform, Michael.
Yeah, she's by platform 5, and I mean that tree is just way far away. That picture, that thing, that threatening bridge guy picture they put out is completely misleading.
I think it goes to show how far away he really was. I'm going to try to pull it up on here now. Hold on.
No, it doesn't. They moved. So what they had to have done is taken his image and moved it way up the bridge.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can see what you're saying here.
So yeah, I mean, Julie is shooting that video from the still just about at platform 5, and that tree is 15 yards away, 20. There is no platform anywhere near that tree, and you cannot explain the bridge guy still. You can't explain the bridge guy still by any zoom effect. You can save the picture.
Yeah, let me try that. I don't know if anything wants to work though. It's just taking me longer than necessary, so just give me just a hot minute. I think a lot of people did say though, like that he was so far back in the video, like they couldn't see him. He was a little tiny dot back there. Like I hope that is something that does end up getting released to the public, is where you can actually see the original.
There may well be nothing the matter with the original video. I've not seen it. I'm not saying they messed with that. What I'm saying is they seriously messed with this BG thing. I mean, that should never have been. The jury should never have seen that.
No, they don't even go through like how they altered any of it. They don't go through like exactly what they did.
Look.
So here's the photo that Michael sent from Julie's video.
Yeah, and zoom in on it farther. You can't. There is no platform anywhere near that tree.
No, because she's on the platform. She's standing. So
right. Yeah.
She's on platform 5 where she's filming from. So 5 is here and the tree is back here.
Yeah, and then you look at the BG photo and the tree and the platform are cheek by jowl.
I think it's the angle of the video.
No way. You can't get that angle. How could you possibly get that angle with, I mean, zooming? No, you can't get that angle to make it look like that.
Did Ange Irish goodbye us? Let me see if I can pull up another picture. Hold on. Which one do I have?
And I'm serious. If you zoom in on the BG still, if you zoom in and look at the tree, it actually does look like it's growing up between the platform and the bridge.
Like right here.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up different ones I have just to see. Oh, then you can't see the tree. Oh, can't see the tree.
No, what they did was what I think they had to have done is at the time that he pops out from behind Abby in the original, they then move his image much farther up the bridge.
So like he's closer?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember when they were the people that were going over like the testimony, they were saying something about like he like just appeared, like when they were going over that, like just appeared on, like he was right next to Abby, like he was just there?
Well, I think what they said, my understanding of what they said was that because of the angle of the shot, that he was basically originally completely obscured by Abby, and then he stepped out and you could see him and he was very small, which means he had to be pretty far away. And so what I'm saying is that they took that image, so if you look at Julie Melvin, the still from Julie Melvin's video, say he was down by, platform 4 or farther down, they then
It'd have to be 3 because 4 is on the other side. So unless they invert it.
No, that next platform is 4.
Right, but it's on the other side.
Yeah.
Bridge.
But what I'm saying is they took the image and moved him up the bridge.
You think just him though, just the person, and move him up?
Yeah,
right?
just the person. Yeah, I mean it's a complete. Yeah, just the person.
So 4 would be because it would have to be by 3, or he's back here walking. But they're like down. I don't know. I've never been there, so it's so hard.
No, I think the video is actually taken from off. I think the original video is actually taken from off the bridge.
Right. At least part of it is.
So it's beyond 6.
Right. 6 is here.
Yeah. And there's no way there's no angle where you get bridge guy with that platform right next to the tree by platform 5. There just isn't.
So they just take him from way back here, this little tiny person, and move him up here so that he's closer.
Yeah. And they must have done something. They must have done something more because they have to get the platform. So, yeah, I don't know how they get the platform next to the tree. I mean, look, I don't know. Look, I'm not an expert. I don't know what they did. I don't know how they did it. I just know that the bridge guy video that they published, and they started with the still, and then they went to the video. They did it really fast because I think the bridge guy still was out on the 15th, wasn't it?
You're right. Yep. I think they had 2 or 3 out right away.
And so, I mean, whoever did it really fast.
Somebody asked, do you think that would explain some of the pixelation?
Yeah. Yeah, but his walking is fake. I mean, so he is walking. They moved the video somehow of him walking, but he's not actually. So he's not actually walking on. He's not actually walking on those railroad ties. He's walking on other railroad ties, and they've moved him. And again, I can't explain how they get the platform and the tree next to each other. I don't know. It would take an expert. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not either. I mean, I know. I have Apophis has done a lot of looking into the photos, this photo and Abby's photo. You know, they supposedly had like NASA and Disney looking at this footage.
Yeah, and I don't know how fast they. I don't know how fast they had that, but I mean, this. I don't think they had NASA and Disney looking at it by the 15th. Maybe they did.
No, probably not by the 15th. But they didn't put the video out until 2019.
Yeah, but the video they put out went with the still that they put out. I mean,
Yeah, but like even on the there's still something weird about it too, because like the very first ones they put out. I'm gonna see if I can get this one to open. Like, look at the difference in what was put out like that on the 15th versus what was put out later.
certainly more color to it.
Right. This is when I used to think it was Tobe because of his mustache.
But again, you've got so you can't see the tree in that one.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know why there's the difference in the colors, but anyway, I don't know what it means. But all I'm saying is, you know, this is not something the jury should ever have seen, because this, I mean, this just is a complete, confection.
Well, I don't see that. Well, you know, and I'm not an attorney, and I'm not an attorney in Indiana, but I've always struggled with the fact that they didn't have all these like evidentiary hearings like beforehand to go over like what was going to be admitted, what wasn't going to be admitted. Like, you know, Holman says like they decided they were going to take out the polygraph part of that interview. Like every other trial I watch, like they have all these hearings leading up to trial that they go over what evidence is going to be brought in, what evidence isn't going to be brought in, how they're going to do it. And like that just didn't like happen here. It was just like we're at trial and we're just going to let this in, or we're just not going to let this in. Is that
Well, I don't think the lawyers. I don't think that Brad or Andy or Jennifer objected to this. All I'm saying is, and I just, if it were it's like I would have been objecting to this. You know, you want to watch the original video? Great. You know, don't give me no stinking enhancements.
And I think we were all objecting pretty loudly, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think they should have seen it either.
I mean, it is so clearly. I mean, I don't know what else to call it except a confection. I mean, it's you can't get that angle on that guy with that platform and that tree. Period. The end.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that now. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do some looking at other people's videos that were out there and see how theirs come out. If I find some, I'll let you know.
And the other thing about it that makes it a problem is that a good bit of time has been wasted by a number of people because his image has been moved up the bridge. You don't know, like, what the ratio of what's happened to his size in moving him So it is impossible I mean, I've even spent some time on trying to figure out his height, but then when I saw it was made up, I realized I've been wasting my time. There's no way you can figure out his height from this still.
Which is what a lot of people have done. Like you were saying, a lot of people have spent a lot of time doing that, figuring out exactly how tall he is, but it's from these photos.
There's an easy way. There's a real easy way to do it, and I'm not talking about Gray Hughes turning him over on his side. That was hilarious. But you know, if this were not just a made up, basically composite, what you could do is you'd have to actually, there's a standard width of rails, and it's 4 feet 8 inches, but you don't know, the rails aren't on there. So somebody would actually have to go measure the distance between the rails. But then once you know the distance between the rails, you draw a line across on a computer screen, you draw a line across the rail, and you know that length, and then you turn that line vertical, and within a couple of inches you'll have the guy. I mean, he's a little hunched over, but you know, front foot to the top of his head, you would get.
Yeah, that's beyond me. I wouldn't be doing that. Lowercase Steve would be probably somebody who would be the best person to do any of those things. I love his I think he actually I wonder if he actually measured that part. He did a lot of measurements of the bridge. Have you watched his stuff?
There was somebody who tried to do it using the height of the rail as a measuring stick. And there's a problem with that if you don't go out and actually measure it. So the problem with that is that the height of the rail is a small number. And because it's a small number, if you use that as the measuring stick, if you have an error in that and you use it, you know, 6 or 7 times to measure the height, you're going to get that error multiplied 6 or 7 times.
I don't remember what he used. I know what measure he measured. I think he said 5'10". I thought he said 6 foot.
And what I'm saying is because they've moved the image and you don't know what
you won't be able to do
how it's been blown up and or reduced or whatever. You just it's a fool's errand to try and figure out the height from this photograph.
Unless we know where he was actually at on the bridge.
Yeah, you might be able, again, you know, he was so distant by all accounts. I think it would be I'm not saying impossible, but if he was distant and small in the original video, I think it would be hard to come up with his actual height. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you know, if this were actually a shot of where he was at a particular time on the bridge, getting his height from this would be pretty easy, but it isn't, so it's pointless.
I got you. All right, I'll do some looking into if there's anybody who catches any weird angle, like where we can see this distance from the tree. I'll do some looking around.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be, you know, told by somebody that I got it completely wrong. I just don't see how you get that. I mean, there's no platform there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. In my I guess I just always kind of just thought like it would be from the angle, the way that the angle of the phone would be held compared to where he is in front of platform 5, and then the tree behind platform 5 just made it look more flat. But I'm definitely no expert on anything like that. So we'll have to find somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, because I'm not the one. I don't know that.
Well, you can get. I think there's a full. So I think on that video of Julie's from the 10th of March, there's another moment where I think she turns back to the north at the end of the bridge, and you can see it all. Um,
Let's see.
is that looking north?
This is looking south, I believe.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She should be coming up on platform 5. Oh, now she looks over to the side.
Yeah, she looked over to the side. That's why. Yeah.
The end here.
So this is facing the Weber's property.
Yeah. 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 And as you can see, there's no platform anywhere near that tree.
I'm just going to look down there real quick. It's pretty clear.
Here's your F tree right here.
Yeah.
You're walking by it, and then here's your platform.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least 15 yards. And what's more, right? There are other, look, you see the other trees sticking up between the platform? You see the other trees sticking up? Go back just a few seconds.
Oops, sorry.
Keep going back. See, yeah, so there's a tree sticking up between the platform and the F tree.
Okay.
And that's not, those aren't in the photo. I mean, the bridge guy thing is complete cock up.
This and
oh.
Hang on.
Hi, Lana.
Okay, well, I'm getting close to the end here. I'll hold your hand.
So this is what she should be coming right up here and then turned around.
Wood here.
So this is platform 5, and he's supposedly right here on the bridge.
Yeah.
So she turns around.
She turns around, and the tree is way back there. And notice, there aren't, remember when we were walking up to platform 5, between the F tree and the platform were at least 2 other trees sticking up. They're not there.
So all right, hold on. Let's go back. So this tree, because this is supposedly the F tree right here.
Is that the F tree? I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Maybe it is. I'm not sure. Yeah, I get maybe. Yeah, keep going up to 5. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's your F.
Yeah. She looks down, and then she's walking on up to 5. On the right, you will see 2 more trees sticking up.
Right here. Well, there's this big tree, there's this branch, and then there's a tree that's kind of over here to the side. But there's definitely other trees right here. So it's almost like this tree would have to become like part of this tree. They'd have to be almost angled the exact same for like this and this to blend in with this and this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not there, and it's not there. See, there are actually 2 trees. See right there. There are actually 2 trees right there.
Here and here.
Yeah, and they're nowhere to be seen. So they are between the platform and the F tree. And they're nowhere in the BG still.
Okay. Oops, sorry. Wow, I almost had a little misstep. I'm trying to film this and okay. Hang on.
By the way, Ted, Julie's husband, goes nuts at the beginning of this about her
little bit of rotten.
Standing out on one of those platforms, and I'm with him.
Julie ain't scared though. She just does it. Okay, let's go back.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's almost like these trees become like that F tree.
Well,
You know what I mean? Because the F tree is actually way over there, but you have this tree, this little stick right here that ends right here.
Yeah, but if you look at the BG photo, they don't appear. I mean, you just, they're not there. They're just not there.
That's what I'm saying. They'd have to like line up perfect to like blend in with the other.
And they don't because they stand straight up and the F tree is leaning over.
Huh. Interesting. Let's see if she keeps walking because this. I wonder if she turns. Does she turn around again? Do you remember?
This is this
Yeah, I think she does.
The last.
Because he should be.
Here.
Bridge guy would be right here. According to
right about there. Yeah.
Yep.
But as you can see, as you can tell already, if this is shot from the end of the bridge, from off the end of the bridge, there's no way you get that angle on Bridge Guy at platform 5.
Turn around, Julie. Turn around. Fast, Julie. We want to see you turn around right here. See if she goes down. I swear she has one looking back the other way. It might be a different video because I haven't watched her stuff for a while. Here, right here. Right there. She does. She does turn around. Closer. She's on 6 now, I think.
Yeah. And
there's your tree. Okay.
Okay, the last one right before we were.
See if she turns around at the end.
Posted. Let's go over here, honey. Go to the very end.
She's so nice. She's like, let's go over here, honey.
I think this happened because we were on here last time. I said, please.
It's fucking windy.
Property. Then make it be known. Okay. So we will stop here because it's hunting,
around,
no
Julie.
trespassing, no blah, 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 blah.
Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. No, look back at the bridge.
Landowner's property up there. There's somebody else over there. Got a little red barn. And the girls were like checking down. There's a little hill. As soon as you're off the bridge here,
okay,
you can easily go right down that hill. They won't have any reason to go all the way down there. You're going to go down this hill as soon as you get off.
Turn around, turn around, turn around. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
To that creek area.
Oh, here we go. Oh, right there at the very end. Shit. She does. Barely. Let's see if I can pause it.
Down there and then to that creek area. Down there and then to that creek area.
Too close. Too close.
Down there.
She does it right there at the end, though. You go on slow speed, then I'll try to pause it. Yeah, let me do that. Julie's going to be in slow motion. I TM'd to a pic and a link to a vid from the end of the bridge trying to mimic Libby's video. Okay. On Twitter? Let me see. We can't really see anything anyway. Let me see.
But do you see? So you can see platform 5 down there.
Yep, right here.
The tree is way behind it, and there's no way that you get that angle. So there's no way you can get the angle. Let's suppose BG's by platform 5. There's no way you get that angle in the still. Just no way. I mean, the angle is at least 20 degrees off. In other words, you can blow something, right? You can, if you if Bridge Guy was actually at platform 5, just past it, right? You could zoom in, but zooming in will not change the angle of Bridge Guy from the camera.
No, yeah, he would still be the same. I see what you're saying. All right,
And that's just not, it's just, no. I mean, it's almost as if the only way you would get that angle is if somebody was standing at about platform 6.
Hold on, let me get this situated here. So this is somebody, where are they at though? This is the south side. They're starting on the south. No, they're on the north. That was the north.
Gray, this is just.
I'm gonna mute it.
Well, there's the F tree.
Yep.
And there are the other trees.
Yeah, so this person's heading towards the south side. Again, just like Julie was.
Yeah.
This video is from April 4th of 2017, so just a few weeks after Julie was there.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I hope this going over these videos isn't costing you your audience.
They like us one way or the other. They don't normally care what we go over. They just like to go over the stuff with us. They're investigators too. Apprentice investigators.
Well, that's me too.
like Holman's an apprentice attorney. It's fine. I'm gonna after we do these, I'm gonna wrap up. I still have to feed my children, and they're like looking at me like, why haven't I had dinner yet? I'll have to do a part 2 mañana.
Yeah, I got to go to bed because I'm still in recovery mode from a 10-hour drive yesterday.
Ugh. See, they're no. We love you, Michael. We love your input.
Well, thank you, everybody.
I do. I appreciate it. You got me looking at something I never looked at before. Okay, so here she's at the end of the bridge. Let's see if she turns around. The children don't have to eat. Oh, she went really fast. Okay, hold on.
Well, but she may shoot the walking back the other way. I don't know. I guess not because of the length of the video.
Yeah, but it does show that she got across the bridge in about about 7 minutes. Okay, stabilize and almost. So she's off the end of the bridge. She's just not stable at all. There we go. There's your platform and there's your tree.
There's 6. Yeah, I mean, but again, the angle just
tree in hers. What? You could see that other little tree in hers right here.
Yeah. No, if it were just a little tree behind it, it'd be believable, but it's not.
That's about as stable as she gets. Huh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because even off the bridge, he's like more flat.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it is what it is. I don't know what it means. All I know is that it's the BG video and the still from it just aren't. they just aren't accurate.
They're not adding up. I can see exactly what you're saying. It's not something I had ever looked at before. I think I just answered it in my own head and was like, yeah, that's probably what it would look like, because I've never been there and never was looking at that. But I mean, I see exactly what you're saying. Like, right, I mean, it's right here. It's right here.
Well, and actually, if you take the photo and zoom in on it, it's actually not behind the platform. It's actually growing up between the platform and the bridge.
You can see the platform here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
Yep.
Well, I'll give you guys some food for thought on this envelope, which I never even noticed that, so that's also interesting. And the tree. So, well, maybe you can come back tomorrow and we can go over some more stuff. I'll do tomorrow. I'll do a part 2 of catching up, and we'll do victim impact statements. And what else did I have? I think we're going to talk about Christine's interview with True Grit Crime. I feel like I had something else still to go over. I don't remember now though. But so we'll do a part 2 tomorrow. So if you're around, Michael, feel free to come back. I'll send you the link.
What time are you coming on?
Probably around 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock my time, which is I think you're Eastern, right?
I am.
Yeah, so it's 11, almost 11 where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 3, 4 o'clock my time will be 6, 7 o'clock your time.
Yeah, I'll like put a notification on for your channel.
Perfect. I'll send you the link anyway, and I'll let you know exactly when I schedule it. So we'll do part 2 of catching up on Delphi and all the things that have happened. We'll do that mañana. I'll go feed my children so that they don't eat me alive later.
Well, as always, thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. I love having you on, Michael. Thank you for coming up. And Sleuth and Ann, thank you guys too. And all you guys in chat, thank you guys for being here. I know it's been forever, but I will be back tomorrow. I'll make it happen. We'll ring in an early new year, and then go on our merry way and go out and do all the fun stuff you guys are going to do to ring in 2025. So as always, I know you guys have 1,000 other places that you could be, and yet you choose to spend your time here with me. And I thank you guys for that. And I thank you guys for hanging out and waiting for me for almost a month that I haven't been on. So just know I missed you guys, and I'm back. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, Michael.
Bye-bye. Thanks again.
You too.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown. Down the rabbit hole. Where it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown.